7:33. All council meetings are now live streamed and can be viewed at the URL https://@SpartaTWP/streams. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided to the public and to the press on January 6, 2023 by delivering to the press and posting on the Township website a copy of this notice. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Yes. Guys. Councilwoman Flynn.
Here.
Councilman Hertzberg.
Here.
Councilman Blumetti.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Clark.
Here.
Mayor Chiarello.
I'm here. Please join me as we salute our flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I'm going to begin tonight with two fun things. First fun thing is I would like to, for our municipality to formally recognize outgoing Councilwoman Wilesmith, who ended her term last year, first elected in June 2010, and served on the council for 12 and a half years. I can personally say I learned much from watching her conduct herself as a leader of this community. Molly was thoughtful, methodical, and patient, and always open to new ideas. And I can personally say that while we didn't always agree, that I was always happy that she would listen. And I can definitely say that Sparta Township is a better place for having the benefit of her leadership and guidance over those 12 years. So I have some things to give to you. So if you can join me and your family.
I'm not excited to go.
Okay. So
Thank you.
we also have I need my glasses. Use both. I will read it. As Brian said, Molly Wilesmith, leadership is about one life influencing another. Thank you for your unwavering dedication and loyal service to sport. Good work.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thanks, Molly.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. It's a moment to say it's been a privilege to serve Township of Sparta for 12 years. Been humbled to learn so much and have served with such excellent colleagues. They're here and they're in the audience as well, too. And so for many others that are on the wall that are not here. I wanted to give my personal thanks to Mr. Ryan for his guidance and counsel and patience over the years. When you become a new council person, you can't possibly know what you're getting into. And so learning all about the infrastructure in town was a large project. So congratulations to our new council members. Like that's a huge task to try to undertake. I would also like to say that it's been my pleasure to work with the consummate professionals in this community. Like we could not be served by better people. And also Sam, you've been an amazing gentleman, a thoughtful, honest, true steward of our dollars through these years.
Thank you.
So I'm very grateful for that. I'm happy to be now on the side of the dais. I really want to say to my family, I appreciate their support. Like I'd be sad on Tuesday nights when I would go out and they would be going to do different things without me, but I've demonstrated to my children, I hope, leadership and volunteerism. And through that, in their university, they are both leaders and stewards and volunteering and so proud of them for doing that. I did have a little cheat sheet. I'm just going to refer to it in case I missed anything. One of the things that was really important to me over the years is the White Lake Park. So I got involved in politics in Sparta because my uncle Mike McKenna served here, and he's a really handsome guy, like that, not well over there. And he's also my godfather. So when I first moved to Sparta, he was on the council, and he initiated projects, including this building. So he got the new town hall built with Ayla Shamble, Jim Henderson, and others, and also White Lake Fields. And so when I started on council in 2010, that project was like in its first phase. So it's been like a joy to see that come to fruition and be the beautiful walking paths and parks and beach and light, everything that it is. So I'm happy to be part of that for family legacy for my uncle. And that's everything I wanted to say. And we live in a special place. I just wish that all of us can continue to move forward together, love one another, be kind to one another, and so that's my wish. And thank you for
Wally, if I could, I think you did leave some stuff out, and so you won't brag about yourself, so I will. I think that, we've talked a lot over the past few months, and you've been a tremendous help to me. But as I talked to you and asked about, things that you're proud of, what I got was you really are emblematic of what it means to be a local public servant, which is, thinking about what does this community need? What makes life easier? And one of the examples you pointed out was the bathroom that we have now at Dykstra Park. We didn't have that before you were here. And that makes it probably a lot easier for parents who are having their children play games there, don't have to traipse across the parking lot, and now can, put their kids there and be safe. It's little details like that that matter. Also, I think it's very fitting tonight as one of our resolutions is the pride flag that you were the first mayor to marry same-sex couples in Sparta. And to show that this is a inclusive community that welcomes people and lets them be seen. And I think it's a tremendous asset. And I think you're a shining example of the type of public servants that we do need, ones that have their ears and eyes to the ground of Sparta and what it needs. And just thank you very much. And, I hope you'll keep coming back and, tell us what we're doing right and tell us what we're doing wrong. So thank you very much.
It's been a great experience. That's definitely going to do. My Thank you so much. Wait, one more. Thank you.
While we're here, I do see former Councilman Smith is also in the room. There you are. I think it's also befitting to recognize the councilman's achievements. outgoing Mayor Smith at the time elected to be feted for his service on the council in a December end of the year celebration for township employees. But I think I would also like to, for all of us to right now, to recognize the former Councilman Dave Smith for his many years of service to the township, especially with the volunteer ambulance squad, which are here today. And I'm sure we're very proud of him as well. And also for your leadership on the council. So please join me in thanking Councilman Smith for his.
So I'd like to add to that. Winston Churchill said, "You make a living by what you get, and you make a life by what you give." There's no greater example than Dave Smith and his family of that sentiment. Dave Smith spent 30 years on the Sparta ambulance and was captain 3 times. He's now a lifetime member. He was the first team leader with the county CERT Community Emergency Response Team and the team leader and coordinator for the Sparta CERT team. He and his wife, during the COVID crisis, spent over 1,000 hours volunteering at the COVID clinic. He's a member of the Medical Reserve Corps. You can always see him at any Sparta recreation event. And most recently, last year, he stepped up to start the Sparta Kayak Club, which took off right away and really brings a lot of joy to the lives of the residents. While he was on the council, he was liaison to the Sparta Seniors, the Recreation Committee, the library, and he was also the representative to the County Senior Committee, our health committee, and the Historical Society. On top of all of this, he's also an active volunteer for Our Lady of the Lake Catholic Church. Dave has dedicated over 5 decades of his life serving this community. He really emulates and embodies the heart and soul and spirit of a true Spartan. So Dave, I have a little something for you if you want to come up front. Please help me to recognize.
I'm going to add 2 things really
Yes,
quick
please.
before you throw the coin at him. Just two things that I want to point out about Dave. One is, I'm not sure if you have the record, but you were close to the record of the shortest council meetings in Sparta history. And I only point that out because it's because of the amount of time that you spent in this building, working with the professionals, making sure that everything was done. I don't think I've ever seen anyone who put the kind of time that you put in to making sure that everything you did was right and everything that you did was professionally done. And that is why the meetings were so smooth and went so well. And the other thing is, I think the most important attributes of a council person over a representative in general is knowing the people you serve. You've spent a lifetime learning this town through not only your friends and your family and the people that you know, but your pure amount of volunteerism you've met. And that's the way you meet all the people outside your own circles, right? In politics, we tend to live in our own little bubbles, and we live in these echo chambers, and everyone tells us the same things because we hang out with people that think the same way. But when you volunteer and you get to be in these huge cross sections of people in Sparta, you get to learn all of the people's ideas and beliefs and wants. And Dave, you brought that to this council just with the amount of people that you know and you've touched, and you brought their feelings and their wants and needs to the council. So I personally want to thank you for your work here.
You can have it.
Seems like a little overkill for the 2 of us to hand you a coin.
On behalf of a very appreciative community, please accept this Sparta Challenge coin in recognition of everything that you have done, and I know more will come. So, thank you.
I've given a lot of these out, but this is the first one. Thank you all for council. Very, very good. I couldn't have been prouder of serving the town over over the last 50 some years ago. Sparta and volunteered. That's my daughter, the captain of the squad. She's taking the pictures. The family continues to volunteer in the town. Continue to be active on all those, most every one of the committees that you mentioned before, kayak club, recreation committee. I basically grew up my love it, change it for me. Last year was a little bit intense, everybody knows that, but at least everybody knows where my heart really is. And it's in this.
Aw. Really? I'm the only one that does it? Really?
Thanks, Dave, because she wasn't listening to me. Thank you.
Next on our agenda has been an institution that's fascinated me for a long time. And if you think about, just take a step back and think about what it does. In your biggest moment of crisis, your loved one's on the floor, and you need help really badly. With all the taxes that we pay, with all the government services that are available and that we pay for, the fact that we rely on the charity of others to help us in our greatest moment of need is just astounding to me. With that said, we have a proclamation to honor our volunteer ambulance service during National EMS Week, which I'd like to read into the record. Whereas emergency services is a vital public service, and whereas the members of the emergency medical services team are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves with the survival and recovery rate of those who experienced sudden illness or injury. And whereas the emergency medical services system consists of emergency physicians, emergency nurses, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, educators, administrators, and others. And whereas members of emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now therefore be it resolved that the Township Council of the Township of Sparta does hereby proclaim that May 21st through May 27th as EMS Week, and encourages all residents to honor this observance with the appropriate activities and programs. And so, member designers would come up and receive this.
Oh, thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What's going on?
Morning, great to see you, my friend.
Thank you.
It'd be a very big picture.
Not even worried about that.
Okay, I was gonna say, this is a very, very, very big picture.
Pictures. And,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Really? Really? Already?
So much.
Come back in.
You don't have to do that. You don't have to set it up that way. I hope I got your picture, Brad. I'll see you at the parade.
Yes, yes, we will. A few more days.
All right, we do not appear to have any meeting minutes to approve. So at this time, I'd like to turn our attention to the acting township manager for the manager's report.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Updates for Public Works. The Township Free Paper Shred event was held on the May 13th, was successful with 240 cars, resulting in 518 tons of shredded paper. On May 15th, Public Works concluded its online auction of surplus vehicles and equipment, with 23 items being sold, resulting in a revenue of $53,630. Road crews have been renovating storm water catch basins on Dorothy Drive, Dina Drive, Lindsay Lane, King Alex Court, as they are roads that are scheduled to be repaved this summer. This past Monday, 234 Hometown Hero banners were installed on the town's lamppost, including several located in White Deer Plaza. The banners will remain up until the end of the summer. Parks and Recreation. The 2023 Senior Volunteer Appreciation Dinner to honor all Sparta's senior volunteers for their commitment in making a difference in our community was held on Wednesday, May 17th, with approximately 50 people in attendance. The park staff are busy at the White Lake Complex. Sod has been installed on one field, and it's anticipated that the second field will be completed within 2 weeks. A new addition to the summer recreation program is a township open mic night at Dykstra Park on Thursdays, June 29th at 6 o'clock. The event is limited to 10 acoustic performers acts from Sparta and will be open to the public and geared towards an adult audience. Construction Department. As of May 18th, the Construction Department has issued 1,168 permits and performed 2,124 inspections, which include building, electric, plumbing, and fire. The department continues to accept administrative processing of lead inspections upon request. Utilities Department, the director advised that Newton had an issue with their water plant over the weekend, and our utility department was able to work with theirs together with them and the water supply system with them being on our water supply system for a half a day on Sunday until they were back up and running without putting any other residents out of water. And Finance Department, the tax assessor advised that the Township's County Tax Board appeals have been scheduled and will be heard on June 7th. And Mayor, that concludes my report for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to accept the manager's report as read?
I'll make a motion to accept the manager's report as read.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second the motion.
Are any questions or concerns? Any debate? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstain? All right, the manager's report has been accepted. At this time, I'd like to open it up to the public for any items that are not on the agenda. And please state your name and address for the record.
I also have to write it down. I didn't do that last time. I wasn't
Do you
sure.
have to write it down?
Write it
No, I
down
don't
as you
think
want.
so.
Okay. Adjust
I think
this
if you could
here.
bring that,
Where's it supposed to go?
Yeah, there you go.
Is that better? Okay, thanks, Dan. Okay, my name is Ryan Dumpert. I live at 47 Angelo Drive. I just wanted to make some comments. Last meeting, I was unable to stay the whole time. Again, tonight, everybody turns into a pumpkin at 8:15, so I have to run out the door. First, I wanted to note, I actually wanted to send some emails, but I know your preference is to bring public discussion out, and so that's exactly why I had done that.
whatever's fine.
Yeah. I want to first start on a positive note. After watching last meeting, it appears the opinions may have varied, but we all did want an economic development committee or whatever the name's going to be. So I wanted to commend everybody, at least on that, that we do agree that that is something that's part of needs and that we do want. As I have mentioned, I'm interested in, but it's a very interesting topic for me, and I think that that's something that's going to really help Sparta. So I wanted to note one thing. These are all my notes from last meeting. I probably would have gotten up to comment, but I didn't have a chance. Somebody named Tom, I can't remember, had stood up to state about the employees leaving situation. I promise I'm not going to beat that dead horse. I saw what the state was on it. I just wanted to note that he did. I personally do agree that now that it has been brought up into a public forum, that it is something that we do really need to address, or like you said many times, that council does not get involved into personnel issues, and so if that's legal advice, I understand that. That being said, are there ramifications from a town's perspective? Did anybody, it was kind of disappointing, actually, to see the reaction. I feel my duty, and I hope people in the room feel the same way, that their duty is to be able to come up and express their opinion, despite what it is, and have town council actually, hear me, right? Hear what I have to say. I might disagree, but we'll all shake hands afterwards. And I felt like it was a little pushback on Tom. I don't even know if he's here, Tom. It was a little pushbacky on him. I felt it was just a little not fair, not to bash anybody. I'm just saying, hopefully moving forward, any opinions like that, even though the topic was tense, it can be something more that we can just openly discuss. If I bring something to you that you guys literally are just like, this is just, no, I don't agree with it. I really hope that you will at least take it in and hear what I have to say about it, and kind of just maybe do some due diligence on it. So my question is did anybody, I mean, I know your stance wasn't on it, but did anybody look into the issue in general? Is there an employee leaving problem? Is there something that's happening that could have been looked into? it was kind of left open. I've been wondering if anybody did take the time to look into it.
So I can answer that question this way. The person that could best address that at some degree would be the township manager.
Oh, okay.
Who's responsible for all employee matters. And according to our form of government, as we mentioned before, the council cannot get involved in that. It's settled law. So I would, if the township manager has anything to comment on that, he may, but.
Well, hold on, Sam. I just want to make a statement too, because to say that it is not our responsibility when we have a culture problem, when we have the massive amount of people leaving all within a short period of time, to say, not my job. These are things that directly affect the people that live in this town, the businesses that operate in this town. Whole departments have been decimated. And to say, not my job, when we all know Sam is in an acting role, got put in this role, he's got his own job to do. To wash our hands of an issue this important and this big is ridiculous. We don't have hiring and firing ability, and we don't oversee employees directly. But if policy or things that are going on in the town are causing people not to want to work here, we better damn be involved in it. That's it.
Okay. Okay.
From my part, I can categorically disagree with that statement, and I would cite for the record,
Well, clearly,
Bissone versus Riley, 1963, a Superior Court of New Jersey ruling where the judge at that ruling said, basic to the municipal manager form of government, that is the council, shall be the policymaking board and the manager the chief administrator. The council does not and should not attempt to dictate or confirm appointments, nor importune the manager on any appointments or indeed on any other administrative matter. Furthermore, councilmanic interference with the exclusive functions of the city manager is violative of the very essence of the statutory system of government. So the law is very clear on that
that
respect.
has nothing to do with what I just said,
I-
at all.
Yeah, okay, so I'm understanding. I don't want to spark an argument. I was just,
Before you finish, Ryan, I would just add that I share the same opinion in terms of how I read that as the mayor. I would say if anyone in the audience or anyone on the council has a gut feel for if there's an underlying issue or suggestions, they should just directly contact the town manager if it's appropriate. I'm not saying it is appropriate, but I would just say that's the route
And I
to
don't
go.
have a gut feel. I've talked to the employees directly that have left, personally talked to them. I've heard what they have to say.
Do you have any recommendations to offer to, well, I don't know if it's appropriate to offer recommendations, but if you do, not tonight or now, I'm just saying.
I'm not going to give any recommendations. I'm
just-
just going to say that this is very typical of politicians to blame the employee. Like, oh, let's put it on Sam. Must be Sam's fault. And if it's not Sam's fault, and it's people that actually direct his employment, what's he going to do?
I would, just for the record,
Really bad
I don't think anyone's blaming Sam. Actually, I think he's doing a hero's job here. That's not the implication whatsoever. I think there's turnover naturally. If there's a trend going on, then that could be looked at, but no one, including myself at all, is
question.
saying this is
I can put
Sam.
a quick end to this.
Yeah.
Most of them have been people that have been with the township many, many years. We've had at least 3 or 4 retirements this year of personnel that have been here a good number of years, and they were of its retirement age. So
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know any of the people. I just am bringing it up because it was a topic of discussion. And because it's been brought out into a public forum and people were asking questions about it, it's now, I understand. I'll direct questions to Sam and understanding.
And that most of the positions have been or are in the process of being refilled with qualified individuals.
Okay.
We were lucky enough that as we've had people move out, retire, or decide to go other places for whatever personal reasons they have, we've been lucky enough to get qualified people to apply and redo those positions. Yes, there's going to be some transition from putting a new person into a new
Right.
spot, but they are qualified to do that job. They just need to warm
Get
up to it a
speed.
little bit.
Right. Understandable. Okay. Is there, I mean,
I would just say that I think it's unfair to layer a bunch of assumptions about why someone left. And then, I'm not saying you did that. I'm just saying that, the law seems pretty clear. It's not up to me to go and interview a personnel and find out why. That's not my job. That's not
Right.
what the law says. And I tend to follow what the law tells me to do.
Is
And
there a problem
so,
with talking to an employee after they leave? Is that against the law?
I don't know. It's a thin line. Well, and we have the reasons. And the
I
reasons aren't,
understand.
that Mr. Rome just said had nothing to do with, oh, I'm leaving because the town is decimated. That was not what he said. The person with the most information, the person who has the responsibility, just told you why they left. And it had nothing to do with the reasons that you gave. And so also, there's something that, I think the people who did serve, they did a great job, right? But change is not bad, right? With the new person come new ideas, new direction, new incentive. And so just because someone leaves doesn't mean, well, every time someone leaves, therefore, there's a diminution in service. I haven't heard anything about a diminution in service. No one's come to me. Now, you come to me and say, this particular department, do you have a specific example, Mr. Hertzberg, of an actual diminution in service caused by a personnel leaving? If you do, you should say it now. If not, then wait till you actually have the evidence.
Several businesses have called expressing concern with what's going on with some of the timeliness of service. So yes, and I am not going to tell you who they are.
That was services.
So I would invite you also, I'm about statistical data.
Okay.
To be really honest with you, and also about how we get things done, process, timeliness,
Okay.
expediency. So yes, I'm not looking into. I don't manage anything. I don't get involved, and I'm not professing to, but I'm extremely concerned.
Okay.
And so, I would invite you just to come in. You're a resident. This is your house. Walk around, take a walk around. And I think, there's a lot of change going on right now at the same time. And I'm not working, I'm not trying to overstep. I'm not trying to do anything illegal, manage, whatever. But I have reason for serious concern based on statistical data and also based on function, on the amount of people that are leaving from key places within the township, that you don't need to be the township manager, you don't need to be overstepping your bounds, and we should not. And I think we've made that clear, but I do have to agree that as members of this council, we are ultimately responsible to be aware at the very least. And I think for anyone to sit up here and put our head in the sand to say, we don't know, or it's not our job, or blah, 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 that's dangerous. And it's not going to be effective for our community, our businesses, or our residents.
Okay.
So that's, if you want to talk more
And
about it
when you say
offline.
come in come in and walk around, what do you mean? Just look around, talk to people, talk to the employees?
No, I'm just saying,
Just,
I'm just saying,
just come-
you can come into any of the places that we
Okay.
have. You can walk around, you can see, if you've dealt with us before, you can
Yeah.
tell. It's not even, the number is alarming, but it's also, and again, the why, we can remove the why, okay? We can
Right.
take why out and put it over here. There is a definite impact.
okay.
And it is not just a number, it is the level of information, the level of historic knowledge. I'm
Right.
getting a little bit nervous about how we throw around this word change. Every time we take out every historical piece of knowledge that's in this township, it's branded under change is good. I'm not saying change isn't good, but we need balance, in my opinion.
All right.
So,
All right, thank you.
I would just add one closing note, and it's not just this issue, any issue. Instead of everyone running around saying, oh, there might be a problem, there's a problem, I would just say, if any of us has any solutions or any recommendations to be considered, let's just get them out there. I mean, not tonight, right now, but instead of all this speculation, all this who said what, and is it a problem, is it not, who's hiding, who's not. If there's any recommendations to fix the alleged problem, let's just, offline, make it known, like, instead of, let's make
the
talking about it
context
now.
off of hearsay.
Yeah,
Sorry, that's
yeah.
the lawyer in me, but if, anyone's welcome to come to the mic and tell us, that's what we're here for. If you're a business owner in this town and you have a problem with the service that's being rendered to you, I encourage you, please, it's not that, we are here to fix problems. That's what we're here for. And so if you do, come on in, tell us what the problem is, and we'll try to fix it. So I want to encourage people to do that. But what I don't want to have is whisper down the lane And that doesn't help anything. You can't solve a problem if you don't know what it is and you don't have the specifics of it. So I encourage people to identify it and we'll address it.
Okay. I got 2 minutes. I'm going to try. I had one, actually, for Dean. Somebody had mentioned bringing up a business-friendly award or something like that. I was wondering if you had, there was some kind of business-friendly award that we were not qualifying for anymore. Do you have any? It was a,
If I could recall, I think that was mentioned, I think Councilwoman Quinn might have mentioned something about county or some kind of award or,
Councilwoman Quinn.
sorry, I'm sorry. My mind's going too fast, I apologize.
It's the
Councilwoman
Sussex
Quinn,
County Economic Development Partnership Award.
Okay.
It's an award that is made available to the 24 municipalities in Sussex County. There's a range of points and a spreadsheet, a sheet that's very simple here. There's 10 different questions, and if we went through these questions right now, we wouldn't even be able to apply for this award. If we would have gone for this award a year ago, we probably, gold is 90, silver's 80, bronze is 70. From where I see on here, we are right now, tonight, at this point, we could not even submit this. So it's available to all 24 municipalities through the Sussex County Economic Development Partnership.
okay,
And it's called the business-friendly certification.
certification.
That's available
That's what it
to
was. It
every
wasn't an award.
municipality.
Okay, sorry.
maybe later on a new business, I'll recommend that we take a look and go
Yeah,
through that.
that's what I remember you saying.
What are all those areas? I mean,
There was
that's-
something that you were recommending looking into. That's what I was following up on, asking if you had a chance to look into it. I think, so after watching the entire meeting, last meeting, which took me about 4 or 5 days to get through in the little YouTube clips, I can see the tension, I can see everything. I really, from a public perspective, my hair started to stand up. I started to say like, okay, well, I have to ask some questions. That's why I'm really just here asking questions. I want to start the conversations publicly about whether or not there is Sparta, like, if there's an award that we didn't have or we could have, something that I would really want to know if this was due to what could have happened, what's happening, right? I'm just digging.
So I know you have to leave, but if you want to talk to me about it
Okay.
offline, I'm happy to provide. My email address is online, so you can reach out to me. I'm happy to send you a copy of it and you could see it.
Okay, thank you. Quick question, there was something that you had mentioned, Ms. Quinn, about the sidewalk plan. There was some kind of sidewalk plan, and
Yes.
Neil had brought that up too. Is that something I can find online or see?
Yep, you can go back, and I can actually probably give you the exact information on it. So you're talking about, I think you're talking about Town Square, a walkable town square.
Okay, yes.
And that's something that we had been working towards at the planning board for several years. And
Okay.
it is the property that is in the middle here, and that's what we were going towards. That's why we had started changing some of the ordinances to be a little more business friendly, to get foot traffic. The initiative was called at the time, we were working toward building a town square. So I can point you to where the information is in the minutes and the archives
Okay.
and all that stuff.
Is this something I could find on the website?
Yes.
Okay, all right,
Yep.
I'll look there. Okay.
Yes.
Additional note on that, there's something where the planning board's still involved, and actually it's a cross-functional committee, including some
Okay.
residents, about state plan endorsement for the town center.
Right.
That's
I
envisioning
think it's a good
that-
idea, so that's why I
the
wanted to
same.
look at it and see where we are and what's going on. Because, sure, if we could walk around, that's even better. Also, I wanted to thank, again, publicly, Neil, I really do appreciate, and Ms. Quinn, you mentioned last time, the ability for somebody to stand up here and say something and speak their opinion and really just feel comfortable is not an easy thing to begin with, right? I think it's I do it a lot, and every once in a while, I get shaky. But I want to commend you and thank you, and I really do appreciate that you are supporting the environment of being able to come up here and speak your mind. I did note that you used your gavel last time, and thank you for doing that. I think somebody had to be escorted out, but I believe that it was done properly, and to speak out of turn, is disruptive to the entire democracy and the process. So,
Causing a scene, that's the only.
well, yeah, but thank you. I do believe that standing up here, I will stand up here and continue to come to the meetings, and I will continue to care and express my opinion, and I really do thank you for your reception on that level. So thank you, and I gotta be up to giant gymnastics.
Thank you, Ryan,
All right.
and, you know, I
Thank you.
encourage you to get involved in if, you know, you're here, the people are here to hold us accountable, right? And you shouldn't be up here if you can't take the heat, right?
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, and bring the heat, and as long as it's in good faith and it's well-founded, and, you know, you go through the town center plan, or like, how come we didn't build sidewalks? Why can't we build sidewalks? I think we can build sidewalks. And you come in every meeting and you tell us, why isn't this done? That's what you know, that's the way this is supposed to work. You know, we're citizens like you are. We want what's best for Sparta. But like anything, we need to, you know, you can draw attention to it and hold us accountable. And I keep encouraging you to do it.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Susan Egan. I'm 14 Oakwood Trail. I'm also the marketing manager for Lake Mohawk Country Club. And I think now's a good time to say thank you and remind everybody how important it is to work together. And I would certainly like to acknowledge Chris Quinn and the rest of the council and everyone else that took the time to hang those Hometown Heroes banners. It just looks great in the plaza. It's a great example that we're working together. And I just wanted to say thank you. So better together, and thank you, Christine Quinn.
Thank you, Susan.
Thanks, Susan.
They look gorgeous. Now we just have to fill Valhalla. We need a couple more. I mean, Winona. I'm sorry, Winona. We got to fill that. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else for anything not on the agenda? Seeing none, will the deputy mayor please read the expenditures and we approve them?
I make a motion that we approve bill list totals by fund dated May 23rd, 2023, and the grand total amount of $6,800,083.37.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll make a second to approve the bills list as read.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? All those in favor of, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the bill list, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? All right, our expenditures are approved. We have one ordinance to introduce, that is ordinance 23-11. May I have the clerk please read the title of ordinance 23-11?
An ordinance amending Article 3, Meetings of Township Council, Section 2-3.2, regular meetings of the Municipal Code of the Township of Sparta.
Thank you. May I have a motion to introduce the ordinance as read?
I'll make a motion to introduce 2311 as read.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Blumetti.
Yes.
Berg. Yes. Councilwoman Quinn.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark.
Yes.
Mayor Chiarello.
Yes, the ordinance has been introduced. There are no ordinances to be heard today. At this time, we have a number of resolutions. I believe there are 14 of them. I would like to open it up to the public for any discussion or questions or comments on any of the resolutions that are in the packet.
Hi, Jenny Derricks, Tap into Sparta. Quick, first, on 9/6, do we have a timeline on the salt shed?
I'll defer that to.
We actually just took the bids in this week, so hopefully, process now, hopefully we could get it probably by late summer.
Okay.
Early fall. And the actual prices did come in a lot lower than the estimates.
That look like, that's good. And so we don't expect to have it online for this winter?
Hopefully it
do.
will be. They probably
Oh, yeah?
can start
Okay.
putting it in. Obviously, we'll still have the old salt shed there until we get the new one in place, so it's not like we're not gonna have this, be able to
Supply,
put salt
yeah,
anyplace, so.
Thank you. I'm going to ask the same question for 9-8 through 9-11. Who requested the flags and who has purchased the flags?
For 9-8, the flag was requested by dozens of people. I think most notably the Sparta organization of the P-Flag organization. And that organization will donate a flag that will be flown, or if the ordinance, if the resolution passes.
Okay.
Resolution 9-9 was requested by the commander of the VFW, who has also offered to donate the flag for that event. And for Juneteenth, there are several organizations that haven't formally come forward, but are in the process of submitting a flag for approval. But acute for this resolution, I was the one who recommended that.
Okay.
And so if no flag is offered by any organization, I will purchase it myself.
So to Jenny's point, I thought the process that we kept talking about putting in place is that we had to have requests, right? So the request should be coming in to a central place, because my concern with this with all these flags in June is we also have 4 high schools with graduations in June. So
I was just asking so we had the information. I wasn't trying to
Okay.
cause a fight.
I'll take it up later then when we discuss it.
And then 9/11, 9-11.
Oh, that is a statewide effort to have every municipality in the state of New Jersey form a Revolution NJ 250 committee to discuss and plan how each municipality can participate in the 250th anniversary celebration of the country, which is coming up in a couple of years.
Is this something that members of the community should be looking to apply for, to be
Yes.
on this committee? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions for any resolution that are on the agenda?
Adrian Bierman, 12 Brook Drive. I have some questions about Resolution 9-6, the salt barn. So the size is stated as 70 by 180 feet, but I don't, is that the 10,000 ton version that we discussed recently?
Yes.
So that's the larger version. What is the height of that building?
I don't know.
It is approximately probably 20 to 30 feet in height. It's high enough that we could drive the loader in and be able to scoop the salt and raise the loader on the big front end loader.
Okay, so that's about the height of a Home Depot.
Yeah, it's
which is
probably like a
about- yeah.
regular
Yeah.
dairy-sized
Okay.
barn, really.
So is there going to be any kind of visual mitigation on the perimeter of the actual site? A berm, trees, to essentially, since we have such a large building now in that area, so that from a certain distance, the building is hidden from view?
It's basically a vacant, like a vacant space that where it is at now. It's behind the DPW garage, the existing garage.
Correct.
Aesthetically, it is more pleasing to look at than the existing old salt dome that we have there, which will be torn down once the one is completely operationable.
All right, since as part of an application for a major development in that same area, there was demands for a visual mitigation of a very large building that was being proposed there. And since this is a large building also, I'm just wondering if the new standards for the aesthetics of the town, the design of the town, we should include landscaping as part of this much larger building. I know the old Soul Dome doesn't look like much, but moving forward, maybe this is a chance to improve the visual appeal of that area. There are businesses nearby that have decent landscaping. This is a lot that probably would improve also with a tree perimeter or some other berm. That is for the visual aesthetics. I'm also thinking that since this is an ongoing operation that includes salt, there will be spillage. I mean, just part of the operation. If it might serve as a barrier towards the natural area that surrounds it. The aquifer is not that far away. Should we be concerned to build something there to catch any kind of effluent coming from that new larger operation?
The new building will be built with the barriers that will limit any seepage out of that contained area. And also, that is part of the reason of doing it, because it's a lot better than the shed that's 25, 20 years old. And part of the reasoning too is as the older salt dome ages, it's deteriorating. So what happens is, they got to get up and replace the shingles and stuff. And it's such a weird shaped building, trying to get a contractor in to actually work on that with the proper scaffolding and ladders is a nightmare.
Oh, yes, I mean, clearly the new building will be better.
Yes.
There's not a doubt about it. I'm just, wondering if, since we are improving that lot, we should, keep on improving in that area of visual appeal also.
That's a fair observation.
So,
It's one of the things I can say about our DPW department. That facility is very, very well maintained. They take great pride in it. It's spotless when you go over there. It's hard to believe that, they're working on big trucks and everything else, and the place is spotless.
yes, oh, yes.
I would just add that maybe that's something we can look into, is the tree line idea. It would shield it from nearby properties, being it is a lot larger, and also it potentially could shield it from wind, at least on maybe 2 or 3 sides of it to.
Yeah, Mrs. Zapp mentioned that it is brutal, the way it is now, in wintertime. And so it may just help to have a windbreak in the appropriate places. So,
I would encourage you to come up there if you haven't visited it. It's quite an impressive facility.
yes, it is. So the cost of the project is quite a bit lower than we estimated a few meetings ago. We were thinking like 2.2 million, it's only 1.4. Does that include everything that we need? Does it include demolition of the old shed or additional costs?
Yeah, that'll be all included into it. So hopefully, with the price being considerably lower, once the project is completed or near completed, we might be able to actually cancel some of the balance back to surplus.
Okay.
And we'll have enough money for trees.
That's what I was thinking,
And bushes.
actually. Yeah.
I think you're bringing up some really great points about landscaping and whatnot. So I think that maybe you could put those in an email, or Sam, maybe you could bring those back to Jim just as idea points. I think he's already taken some of that into consideration, the remediation definitely and the cost. And the lean-to is also, I believe, covered in that as well. So we were actually able to get every single thing that they were able to get everything that they requested for almost
It's
half
in
the
bill,
price.
Yeah, oh, nice.
So.
Does it include the elevator system that was discussed? The current salt dome is operated through high loaders or heavy equipment, and there was talk of an elevator system where the space could be used more efficiently. Is that part of the current bid also?
I don't believe so. I think this is just going to be conventional. They'll probably have the loads dumped in a shed and then use the loaders and stuff like that to push it toward the back.
I think that was one of the reasons for the larger size, so we can maneuver front loaders in that space.
And we would not need high-tech equipment
correct.
to
It's my understanding,
access.
No, I
All
just found the actual write-up of the entire project, and that is not in there. The service, the fans, the lights, the lean-to, the flooring, the door, everything else that we talked about, but no.
But not that,
No,
okay.
no.
Is this building designed only for use for salt or also possible different product that may come in the future? I know the county uses a liquid spray sometimes to prepare roads. Is this strictly a salt dome, or can it be used for possible future salt alternatives also?
I don't know if we would ever go to the liquid system. That is actually a little bit more pricey than what it is for salt. The state uses it, has its pros and cons. Sometimes we've actually seen, with walking on the road surface, it actually gets slimy when it starts to get wet, so it's actually more slicker than the snow itself. So has its pros and cons. Yes, it melts the ice, it melts the snow, but you get that part where it gets a little slimy too.
Okay. One of the rationales for this very large size, 10,000 ton building, was that it gives us a sufficient supply of salt so that if we have a bad winter, we do not have to worry about enough salt. What is the average salt use in Sparta on an annual basis?
Again, it depends. Obviously, this year it was very low because we didn't have very many storms. And we may have only had about possibly a half a dozen events where we actually had to go out and salt. Other years, you have a hard problem getting salt. I've seen years where, they can't get it when they get down to the docks. And hopefully that is the advantage of having a larger shed, that we can keep enough in supply that we don't have to worry about running out.
But I think it was not only to make sure that we had enough, but it was also to be able to sell to other towns and recoup some of the cost of the building.
Right. I believe you mentioned you were not in favor of that, but is that still on the table?
much in favor.
Oh, you are in favor of that, okay.
My recollection is that the highest we've gone is about 4,500 tons.
Actually, that was the average, 4,500 is what my understanding. The highest is like
Average?
7,500.
75, we've gone through
me if I'm wrong.
7,500 in
We-
1 year.
Really,
The
that much?
average is
Okay.
45, so this gives
Okay.
you at least 2 years'
That
worth.
could give you, yeah.
And
Yeah,
then,
right.
as Councilman Hertzberg points out, that it is, if you go over that amount, the benefit is that the municipal services agreement for other towns who don't have a salt shed of that size or can't keep it, we can enter into agreements with them.
Yeah.
We provide them with salt. And I don't see any reason that, if the technology changes and all of a sudden there's an alternative to salt that is economically feasible, that could be put in a salt shed. There's, it's just salt. It's not, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
I think the other thing to keep in mind also is that the numbers we were given that we go through do not reflect what we store. So in other words, because we may go through 7,400, whatever the tonnage is, 7,400 or 4,600 depending on the year, but that's not the amount that we store. So obviously we store much more than that because we have had years, to their point, where we have not been able to get it. So it's definitely in our best interest in the safety and keeping our community, especially if we look at the landscape with, we're not a flat community here. We need to be able to, to salt and keep the roads safe. So I believe there's more information that was available. We talked about this. We actually had Jim Zepp come to one of the meetings, actually several of the meetings. And so there should be more information and details in those meeting minutes online if you're interested in learning any more about the specifics of the building and whatnot.
Sure.
I think in the past, we haven't stored more than 1,500. I mean,
that's the
that
current-
was the size of the shed.
size,
We had
yeah.
2,000 stored elsewhere in a different township, and we have not had to tap into that. So even though that 4,500 was the average, we were able to resupply it during the years where we needed to hit that.
But with that 1,500 of the current salt dome, you were able to replenish it until one bad winter, you had trouble getting the salt. But usually you can get salt throughout the season, but you don't always know it. Yeah,
So
yeah.
you have localized areas where everybody's trying to get salt from the same exact place.
In turn, too, also with a winter like we had this winter where you use very little, demand drops, price drops. So you could go out and pick it up and fill that shed up with a lot of cheap salt instead of waiting to its
Correct, of
demand.
course. How long does salt stay in a usable form?
Quite a while, as long as it doesn't get wet.
And so humidity from the
So that's
atmosphere
why,
does...
right,
does not
that's why
affect
putting
it.
it in a proper building, you can store it for quite a while.
You can protect it from humidity during the summer, say?
Yes.
Okay. What is the savings approximately between buying bulk and buying in small quantities? Let's say if we had 5 purchases of 2,000 tons versus 1 purchase of 10,000 tons, what is the savings?
Most of the savings is when you go out to the co-ops. Some of the co-ops look at, like, the more you buy, you get better pricing.
Sure.
And that's usually how we go. We go through the co-ops, because obviously if we were to go out and bid it on our own, we're not going to get a good as price, because if you go into a co-op and you have maybe 10, 15, 20 municipalities going in with you, you're going to get better pricing. So that's what we usually look at. We actually are members of several co-ops, and whichever co-op is, we're getting the best deal through, we'll go with that co-op to buy the salt.
Oh, all right, yes. And, okay. I think that covers my questions. And yes, I will put my suggestions about the landscaping in an email and send it out to you.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And Sam, just a budgetary question, I think you addressed it. So, the bond is for, like, what, 2.9 million? It's going to cost 1.4, and you say the 1.5 that's left over, that goes into the budgetary surplus, is that right?
We would actually cancel that and take it off of the debt.
Oh, so
This
the
is
debt
actually,
only, okay, so it's not like it's not like taking a loan for 3,000, you only need 1,500 and you just pocket the 1,500.
Right.
We're not doing that.
we haven't physically borrowed the money yet.
Okay.
But we can. The ordinance basically puts the mechanism in that, okay, if we need to go out and borrow the $2 million on the shed, we can go out and get the note for $2 million. We are allowed to keep it in a note up to a 10-year period before we would have to go out to permanent bonding on it, and to make minimal payments along the way. Obviously, we won't do that. We'll probably, pay off the portion that we don't need or cancel the portion out, and probably just go out for short-term notes and pay it off over like a 4 or 5 year period.
We can also use possibly use the new revenue from the solar that's going to be out there to pay that down.
Yes,
It's
that
estimated to
once,
be almost $350 a year.
yes.
Well, it could be used for anything, right? I mean, that's not tied to that property, right? The solar,
The solar revenue, once it comes in, it'll just,
General revenue.
as that lease comes in, we'll anticipate the lease as a budget revenue, and it just offset other things, whether we need to put more stuff out in DPW or wherever the need may be, we'll have that extra money each year to anticipate as revenue without hitting tax dollars.
can you clarify? I think that the bond approval was not 2.9, I think it was like 2.1 or 2.2, in that range,
2.1.
plus
The-
interest?
The actual ordinance was 2.2, the total, and we had to put the minimum down payment of 5%.
Okay, so that goes up from
So
there.
that 5% came out of our capital improvement fund.
Okay. I have some more questions, but I know we're still in public session, so I'll hold off.
Anyone else from the public on any of the resolutions? Okay, seeing none, I think it would be best to have separate discussions on resolutions 9-6 through 9-14, because each one has its own nuance. And maybe we can adjudicate 9-1 through 9-5 together. So may I have a motion to approve resolutions 9-1 through 9-5?
I'll make a resolution to approve resolutions 9-1 through 9-5.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I second the motion.
Are there any discussions on those 5 resolutions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of approving resolutions 9-1 through 9-5, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, those resolutions are approved. 9-6, may I have a motion to approve resolution 9-6?
So moved?
Thank you. May I have a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on 9-6?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So one question, Sam, if you wouldn't mind. I know previously, I just want to confirm, in the estimates you used a month or two ago, Mr. Hack, the engineer, had laid out a contractor cost and then about $350,000 in other costs, and that was for an asphalt floor, the door, the electric service, engineering costs, and the lean-to, which was $200K, which was the bulk of that $350. So are those additional costs indeed included in this amount here that we're seeing for the
I believe the 14 is just the building itself.
Okay,
That'll be done by the contractor. A lot of the other work will be done in-house, so obviously we'll be saving the cost of paying a contractor for that. It's one of the things, Mr. Zepp runs a really good ship over there. We have some very talented employees as far as the construction end of it and being able to do a lot of that work.
My understanding that it did include the lean-to as well, that it
I
did.
think the lean-to was in on it. That was all, we were looking at it as an option if the price got too high.
Yeah.
And possibly adding that in future years, but I think the way this worked out, we're able to accommodate it within that pricing.
in that 484, okay. So then additional would just be another 150 or so in materials, 150K, it looks like.
And again, those were estimates for the purpose of going out and getting funding.
Yeah, okay. So I have nothing against the new salt barn. I'm not going to reopen up the whole debate from a month or two ago. I'm happy to see that the bids came in a lot lower. That was a huge relief. That being said, I still believe there's no data nor solid reason why we need a 10,000-ton shed, which is 6 or 7 times as large as the current one. And I think we can still save taxpayers money by building a somewhat smaller barn. In the old estimates by DPW and Mr. Hack, going down to an 8,000-ton shed saved $300,000. Going down to a 7,000-ton shed saved $450,000. So not sure if that's exactly the case now. It may not be, but order of magnitude, I still believe that not building a 10,000-ton shed, maybe going to an 8 or a 7,000-ton shed would easily serve our purposes and save money in the long run and still give us all the flexibility and all the space we would need. So I still happy to see the bid came in lower. Extrapolating on that, I believe that the other ones are still going to be lower. I looked at some of the numbers and I adjusted because it's a smaller starting point from 10,000 tons. But there's still a few hundred thousand at least there that we can save. And I still think going up 6 or 7 times, in my mind, is not necessary. I think we can still ratchet that down a little bit and save the taxpayers money. So I still have concerns about the size.
Thank you. Any other comments about 9-6? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve Resolution 9-6?
Approved.
I'm sorry, we already made, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let me go back. All those in favor of approving Resolution 9-6, say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstain?
Opposed?
The resolution has passed. Resolution 9-7, approving the professional services agreement between Sparta and HPA Associates. May I have a motion to approve Resolution 9-7? All right, I will make the motion myself to approve 9-7. May I have a second?
Well, I'll second it, only because I want to have a discussion.
Sure.
I'll second it.
That's after third, seconded. Okay, so is there any discussion on Resolution 9-7?
Sure. So I just have some questions. A few of them are, is this a change in the original plans to hire a full-time person still and build out the department? And the second part of that is, I see it's through the end of the year. And what if we do fill out the department or find a replacement for Mr. Hack before then? And I have no issues whatsoever with Pello and Associates. This is nothing to do with them. I think they're great.
It's basically, Mr. Hack, he informed us like last year when he first came on board that he only wanted to stay here 1 year. He was, after looking that whole time to get us a replacement in-house engineer and assistant, unfortunately, it just, nobody popped up, nothing came out there. It's not saying that we couldn't pick up an engineer, maybe even an engineering student, somebody with a surveying background, forward and mold them into that position. But even with that position, we need an engineering firm that is reputable, that basically would help us take care of our needs and are familiar with Township. This firm has been in the Township in the past, still help us out in some other respects with certain matters, but they were actually the Township engineering firm, I believe sometime in the early 80s, late 80s, somewhere's in there. Very reputable firm. They've been in the county. They gave us a quote for their services. And I'd like to say, I feel very comfortable handing them the engineering services over to this firm. I think they'll steer us in the right direction.
Is this a recommendation by Ed Hack?
Yes,
So he is
yes.
behind this. I mean, obviously I trust his
We've actually.
advice impeccably.
We've had the principal from the firm in, we sat down, we talked with them. Again, they've worked on some other projects within the township where prior firm may have been conflicted out or something like that. So they're a very reputable group. They've been around the county for 50 years, so.
But just to be clear, this is the planning board engineering firm, correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay, okay. And the amount not to exceed $435,000 for June through December, is that, obviously that's not guaranteed. How is this billed? Can you help us understand, like, how is this?
They'll bill us on a billable hours, on a basis. We'll make sure that they are, again, they're not going to do any work unless they have a PO in hand. Unfortunately, past practices were not that way. And that's something that I really wanted to kick in butt.
Okay, I understood. Yeah, I was going to ask that next. Okay.
Just to supplement what Sam was saying there, the contract is terminable by the township with 30 days' notice. So if the township made a decision to go in a different direction, then we would simply have to provide 30 days' notice. And although we have a cap number that's in the agreement, it, as Sam mentioned, is billable by the hour and indeed will be monitored by the CFO through their submission of their purchase orders.
Okay.
And to expound on what the manager was saying earlier, we're still looking to see if we can bring in-house engineering expertise, and that's not going to, that will not cease.
Yeah, we've contacted a couple of people, actually, over the last several months, engineers and firms, seeing if they would be interested in possibly coming over, even researched the fact of maybe doing an interlocal with another town and bringing an engineer on staff here and sharing that service with another town. That sparked a little interest, but, never really came through with that particular individual we were working with. But, again, that would be a win-win scenario for both towns, whoever we partnered with. And
Sam, how long have we been looking for someone?
Ed started when he got here last year, so
Year
over
ago,
a
right?
year.
You haven't been able to find someone for a year? Interesting.
He's been banging out. I mean,
I don't doubt that at all.
it's just, a lot of them are with the firms. They like to stay, secure there. Again, the nice thing of being out in a firm like that, you're all over the place. When I was an auditor, I was all over the northern end of the state, and it was nice because you never were in one place for any more than maybe a couple weeks. Then you move on to another place and do your work there. And, a lot of people like that.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments on Resolution 9-7?
No, I think you addressed them, Mayor Chiarello. I think that, this hasn't changed, that the intent is to have a full-time person here in the position, and not for the town to rely 100% on a professional services agreement to provide their engineering. We've lived through that, and we lived through the significant cost that type of arrangement imposes upon the township. So I encourage, Mr. Rome to continue to try to find someone. We will need, as he indicated, we will need a professional service agreement to augment and to supplement the engineer that we eventually do hire. But the intent is not to rely exclusively on a third party to provide engineering.
Okay, any other comments on 9-7? Okay, since the motion has been made and seconded, all those in favor of approving Resolution 9-7, say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstain? All right, that resolution is approved. Resolution 9-8 authorizes the display of commemorative flag on township-owned property during June 1 through 7 Pride Week. May I have a motion to approve Resolution 9-8?
I'll make a motion that we approve 9-8.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion or comment?
Yes. So I have discussion around 9.8, 9, 10. And it's more about A, the process, and B, the timeline. So we have 4 high schools. We have Veritas, we have Pope John, we have Sparta High School, and we have Votech, all within the borders of Sparta Township. You guys have said numerous times, wouldn't it be great to see the school flags flying? I can't think of a better time for them to be represented than when they graduate and when they have their graduation. So with that said, Pope John usually graduates, I think it's like 8 days prior to, or the week before Sparta. Votech is usually right around when Sparta is. Veritas, I don't know the date, but I would like to caution you that it sounds pretty clear that we have 1 week here, which is June 19th, which is, where's Jenny? Jenny, when is the graduation date of Sparta this year? That
I
week,
think it's
right?
the 22nd or the 20th?
June 20.
So the issue is, you're putting in a request to hang a flag of your choice during a graduation week of 4 high schools. So I think we need to be mindful that we want to be representative of everyone and be fair. So I'm just saying, maybe we need to, I'm just putting it out there that I think we need to be mindful of that fact. There's not enough weeks in here to accommodate everything the way that it's mapped out.
Would you like to make a motion to fly one of those flags, a flag of one of those schools during that week? You can do so.
Can I ask a clarification?
I need to get the dates, Dan. I don't have the dates of their. What, Jen? What is? What is the actual day? Like the date?
On 21st is Wednesday, it's 22nd.
I thought it was the 22nd is the number that,
The 22nd is Sparta? And do you have a date for Pope John by any chance? So I'm just saying, I'm guessing that these schools probably don't even realize that they could put requests in either. But I think all I'm saying is, I think we just need to be mindful to allow the schools to be represented. That was one of the big platforms that was given by the majority of the council for wanting to get this through and be representative and all of that. So I think we need to be mindful of it. June is a very busy month. That's all I'm going to say about it. We'll get I don't know when the other dates are, but, again, it's after June 19th. I can't imagine that June 2nd. So we have to get the dates. I just ask that, you be mindful of just making time to be able to accommodate, that's all.
Can I ask a clarification? The 9-9, 9-10 are for single days each, is that correct?
that's correct.
Not the
That's
week?
correct, yes.
Okay.
So the only week would be the Pride Week.
First one, okay.
Okay, so if they're only for
Just one day
a
each?
day, then it should be fine.
Yeah.
So are you putting forward a recommendation to fly a flag during one of either Pope John or, well, Pope John is a organization, is a business. I'm not sure that would qualify under our policy, we would have to look at that, but the high school is a public entity, so you're free to make a motion to, a recommendation to put that on the agenda for the next council meeting.
I'm going to leave it up to the schools
It's
to
a
make.
nonprofit organization.
Okay. It's also a religious organization, so we'll have to look at that against the resolution that we passed before, the ordinance. But that said, you're free to, make recommendations to fly those flags, if you'd like.
I'm not going to make any additional recommendations right now. I'm going to reach out to them if they're aware that they want to. Again, I don't agree with this whole thing, but the more that we are coming forward with these things, I don't want us to be exclusive by, I don't want,
That's what's going to happen.
of course,
There's no way
but
to avoid
I
it.
want us to be mindful that we need to make sure that we are being as inclusive as possible. And there's 4 graduations happening in June.
There's 15, 20 flags every month. There's no way we can be inclusive.
Okay, and again, anyone, but I haven't seen anybody make a request for any of those flags. And as a council member, you're also resident, you're free to make that request yourself. And the process, as we defined it, was that the request has to be made to put it on the next agenda. So the earliest it probably could be done is the second June meeting anyway. Any other comments on Resolution 9-8? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving resolution, actually, let's make a roll call vote, please, on 9-8.
Councilman Blumetti,
Yes.
Councilman Hertzberg,
No.
Councilwoman Quinn,
I don't support the flag ordinance or any of the flags, so no.
Deputy Mayor Clark,
Yes.
Mayor Chiarello.
Yes, the resolution is passed. May I have a motion
So
to
can I ask
introduce?
why that was a roll call vote on a resolution when we've never done that, and we just approved 6 others and there was no roll call vote?
Because we had comments, and I assumed
What?
that people would vote no, and we made a roll call vote on the other resolutions for the other flags in the last meeting, so I thought it was appropriate. Yes, really. May I have a motion to approve Resolution 9-9?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 9-9.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, any discussion on Resolution 9-9? Hearing none, may I have a roll call vote, please, on Resolution 9-9?
Councilman Blumetti,
Yes.
Councilman Hertzberg,
No.
Councilwoman Quinn,
No.
Deputy Mayor Clark,
Yes.
Mayor Chiarello.
Yes, the resolution is passed. Introduced to accept Resolution 9-10, authorizing the commemorative flag for Juneteenth on June 19th.
Make a motion that we approve Resolution 9-10.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion or concerns, comments?
So who actually requested this flag?
I did.
National.
It is also a national holiday.
I think we need to put together a process that everyone can get to equally, if, and that can be maintained. We talked about this a million times.
What's the point?
I'm just saying, there's no process, it's
Yeah,
unbelievably divisive and subjective, and there's not even a process behind
that's
it.
what's going to get us.
I do not agree with that. We had 4 meetings in which we discussed at great length the process, and so I think the process is very well defined.
So what's the process?
We can go back to the
Flooded with
resolution.
emails? Or how do we, where's there a database of all the requests that are coming in?
The township clerk does maintain a shared folder on our shared file share that has the requests. And the process is that and we've outlined that. I don't have the resolution in front of me, but the public can make requests under a certain process. And but ultimately, this is a council decision. This is council speech, and so a council person will make a request to put it on the agenda for the following meeting, and that request has to be approved, and then it appears on the agenda for the following meeting.
This is not council speech. You branded it as government speech, and it's not collective government speech. So move forward. Let's just move forward.
I
The
just want to
council
add, I
is the
think
government.
any resident has the opportunity to make a request, and I think, in my mind, I guess, especially this first year, when this is just new, before the public and every organization and, the parties are aware of this and it becomes routine, that I don't see a problem with, as a resident, council people, I don't think they give up that right to make a request, especially early on like this, if there's something important that we want to get up there for discussion.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on 9-10?
What is the status of these ceremonies? You announced at the last meeting there was going to be ceremonies, but then there weren't ceremonies, so what's the process?
Yep, that's a good question. After further discussion with the attorney, we decided that it would be best at this time to dispense with that. And so there is no formal ceremony. The flag is flown by the staff at the appropriate date and taken down at the appropriate date. Any other questions on 9-10? Okay. May I have a roll call vote, please, on 9-10?
Councilman Blumetti,
Yes.
Councilman Hertzberg,
No.
Councilwoman Quinn,
No.
Deputy Mayor Clark,
Yes.
Mayor Chiarello.
Yes, the resolution is accepted. We have a motion to accept Resolution 9-11, forming a committee to study the resolution NJ 250.
I'll make a resolution, or make a motion that we accept or adopt Resolution 9-11.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you. Any discussion or comment? I have some myself, actually. I noticed that the resolution was missing a section, which is the composition of the committee. So I'd like to make a motion to amend the resolution with the following composition. So before I do, let me ask our attorney, Ryan, would that require this to be reintroduced?
Not with a resolution.
Not with a okay.
You can make a motion to amend the resolution, and then if it's approved, then the resolution can be voted on.
With the amendment. Excellent, thank you. So I would like to make a motion to amend Resolution 9-11 as follows, to describe the composition of the committee as follows, that the committee would include the 2 members of the Township Council who are named as liaisons to the Sparta Historical Society. It would include 2 members of the Sparta Historical Society themselves appointed to the committee by the or recommended to the committee by the Sparta Historical Society and approved by the council. 1 member of the Township Board of Education that is recommended by the Board of Education President and approved by the council. And 2 members of the public appointed by the council, so a total of 7 members. So I make a motion to amend Resolution 9-11 with those additions.
I second the motion to amend.
Thank you. Any comments or questions about those amendments? Yes, I did.
do now.
There are question, now's not the appropriate time, but there are liaisons to the Historical Society. It's Councilman Blumetti and Councilman and Deputy Mayor Clark. We did. Anyway, that my amendment has been seconded. Any other discussion on my amendment?
Why only 2 members of the public?
I thought 7 was a good number. But if you'd like to expound on that, we can.
Well, when we had the 175th anniversary together, I mean, you should have businesses included there. You should have a lot of other entities involved in there. And by simply just having 2, you have 2 members of the council, you have 2 members of the Historical Society that are already going to be involved in that. You've got 1 member of the Board of Education, and just 2 members. And I believe when we had the 175th anniversary committee, we had businesses on here, we had many more residents on here, and I think that's where you get the great ideas and you really want to encourage involvement. So I don't know why this is limiting to 2 members. I mean, is it 2 members of what? 2 people on a committee? Is it 2 businesses? I mean, businesses should be involved in this as well. So.
I mean, that's fair. So are you making a recommendation to include more people? Please do so.
It's open to be They're doing it right now, so.
I'm sorry, is there a question, and are you making a recommendation?
I would agree too, that adding a few more people from the public.
So what's
I think
the-
it's
what's
those
the
are
good
good
number?
ideas, yeah.
Maybe it should be two
I'm open to,
businesses, I don't know. I think this is very, I don't think it's inclusive of,
okay, so we're here now, can you help us make it better?
it's all
What would you
board
think?
members. Yeah. I think we want to get more of the community involved.
Okay, so,
But this is something that I thought would be really spearheaded by the Historical Society and the VFW. I think it would be probably there's no one even on here from the VFW mentioned on here.
so are you recommending that we add somebody from the VFW?
I'm recommending that we maybe need to think about this a little more, or at this point, we just not limit it so specifically to micromanage and see what the interest is. And
Okay, let's,
To be
Reach
a
out to
committee
those.
as decided by the council. You don't have to have a limit or a set number depending on how many people volunteer.
I agree. So that's why we brought this up and we're discussing it now. So that was the proposal. I'm open to changes. So if you have any changes, let me
I'm
know.
also not clear about the structure of this. So the state is sponsoring it, so they have their own guidelines for this initiative. They have they're the ones sort of spearheading it, this Revolution, New Jersey 250. So what is the expectation? Is the expectation that we are sending members to the state Revolution 250 New Jersey board? Or is it that we are gonna have our own? Is there one that's going on in Sussex County already that maybe all the municipalities should send members to? I think that's gonna drive the membership, a better understanding of the actual way this thing is gonna be set up.
Okay, so I
It's
can
unclear to
read.
me based on the information provided.
So in the resolution, which I can read, says that the governor and the state of legislation in 2018 had a plan to encourage, develop, and coordinate commemoration of the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States and New Jersey's pivotal role. And the New Jersey Historical Commission established Resolution NJ to advance that role that history plays in public discourse. And the Resolution NJ will engage New Jerseyans in all 21 counties and all 564 municipalities through officially recognized programs. It goes on without reading everything.
It says through its officially recognized programs, initiatives, and events.
Correct.
So that's why I'm saying, is the expectation that we are sending people to boards that the state has? Or is the expectation that you're trying to create a Revolution 250 Sparta? Or I'm not clear as far as what it is we're trying to accomplish here. And I think we need to understand a little bit more, or maybe I just don't understand it. But it sounds to me like they've got these events, initiatives, they got this team together, they want to include everybody. So I guess I think we need to get a little more information about, are we just sending people to their thing, or do they expect us to do a thing, or? I don't know that that's clear here.
The number 2 says the Sparta Township Council authorizes the appointment of a committee, and here is the scope, to develop a plan for this commemoration that will promote the maximum involvement of our residents, neighborhoods, businesses, schools, civic organizations, and institutions in the commemorations. So that's the scope of the committee, to develop plans for that. And I'm sure that the committee will work with the state on integrating those plans with whatever the state has in mind.
So what are other municipalities doing?
I don't know the answer to that question.
My understanding, that's the purpose of this committee. It's not, is to actually come up with, and for each municipality to celebrate in whatever way that municipality chooses, with guidance from the state, how to celebrate the 250th anniversary of New Jersey. And so Sparta and whoever constitutes this group will be able to come up with ideas of how to do that will be both tied into New Jersey, tied into hopefully to Sparta specifically, which we probably do have some revolutionary history here in Sparta, and that's where we get the contribution from the Historical Society, which will inform those views. So I don't see it as a construct that we're simply going to hear what the state wants us to do and then do whatever they say. No, they want each municipality to participate in its own way, how it wants to celebrate. That's my understanding of this. And I agree that I think we do need some more folks on here to be more represented. I think businesses are great too. And so, and I think that if we need to make a motion to add additional members of the community, we have two residents as well. I think, it would make sense to probably add, two business owners as well. But is there a deadline that we have to have this committee constituted? Do you know?
Well, the deadline would be the 250th anniversary, I guess. So that's a hard and fast deadline.
Reach out to the Historical Society, since this thing is going underneath that, ultimately the state's purview of that it's the New Jersey Historical Commission, under the leadership of the Secretary of State. So why don't we get a little more information about what the expectation is, get the Historical Society involved, and figure out exactly what they're looking for us to do before we build a committee that.
Well, I mean, why don't we just
Form the committee.
pass the resolution and leave the committee formation undefined, and then we can do it based on how
That's
many
fine.
people put in for it.
That's fine.
One of the reasons I wanted to at least start off with some people is because we can get the thing going. And there's nothing limiting us from adding more people later. As you said, we're free to introduce more people, introduce businesses. I think a VFW representation is a good idea. Increase the membership of the public to 4. If we can have 20 people on the committee, I don't think it would hurt. So I would like to start off with at least these 7, and then at the next meeting or between now and the next meeting, come up with some more ideas, and maybe we make a motion to put some more good people on it. But at least right now, if we pass this thing, we can get the word out and start collecting some applications for it and start getting going on this. That would be my recommendation.
And what is the people that are put on this are going to serve for how long?
Oh, yeah, that was a good,
Because there's nothing in here that says, so once you're on it till,
no, I would recommend that
We have
to the end of
two-
the calendar year, and then they would be reappointed if the council so chooses.
so that needs to be added.
Yep, that's a good point.
I'd suggest we take a little bit of everything I heard there, is we keep the recommendations that the mayor made, and we add on at this point 2 civic or organizations or nonprofits, one of them being the VFW likely, or definitely, 2 businesses, 2 more residents. So at least we have that starting point. Always subject to change, as Councilman Hertzberg said.
Well, if you just leave it open-ended, you don't have to change it.
Right, then we
You
don't have
just
to
make
keep
the
doing
appointments
that.
as needed.
So right now procedurally, you have a motion to amend that is pending.
Right.
So I move that we change it to add a date of calendar, at the end of the calendar year for the appointment, and also that we leave off the amount of people that are going to serve on it, so that we're not limiting it and having to come back 100 times.
I mean, you can designate the ones you've already stated, just saying, and other volunteers as designated by the council.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
So we'll have the 2 council liaisons, the 2 representatives from the Historical Society, 1 member of the Board of Education, and then an indeterminate number of public as we had applications for it.
And other entities.
And other entities. And do we want to add the VFW as a sort of a,
We could leave it as you had it, Dan, but then just put plus additional entities, organizations as needed. That would cover nonprofits, civic organizations, businesses, more residents.
I made a motion, there's a motion on the floor.
okay. So let me do this. Let me modify can I amend my motion or withdraw it?
You can withdraw your motion and then make another motion.
Okay, let me withdraw my motion then. Does that need to be voted on?
It was the second of that
Uh,
motion.
Why are we canceling it?
Because I'm going to amend the motion. So the attorney advised us we have to back out my motion and start a new motion. So, Deputy Mayor Clark, are you going to rescind your seconding of my motion? of my
Yeah, I
motion?
withdraw the seconding of.
Thank you.
Mayor Chiarolla's motion.
So I'd like to make a new offer to amend Resolution 9-11 as follows, to compose the committee of the 2 members who are the liaisons to the Sparta Historical Society, 2 members of the Historical Society, 1 member of the Board of Education, and one or more members of the public appointed by the council, and one or more businesses or other entities appointed by the council. And each member will serve till the end of the calendar year. I think that gets it. So is there a second for that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any questions about the motion to amend? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to amend, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, so now we have a motion to adopt Resolution 9-11 as amended. May I have a motion to adopt that as amended?
Make a motion that we adopt Resolution 9/11 as amended.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any questions or comments or concerns? Hearing none, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Blumetti,
Yes.
Councilman Hertzberg,
Yes.
Councilwoman Quinn,
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Clark,
Yes.
Mayor Chiarello.
Yes, the resolution is passed. So, Roxanne, are you clear on what we did? And if did you get all that? Because ultimately, you're responsible for getting all that. I'll try to reconfirm it, or one of us will reconfirm that in the email to make sure. Thank you. I took some notes. All right, Resolution 9-12, establishing a business development committee. May I have a motion to introduce or to accept that resolution?
I'd like to make a motion to amend it. Can I do that now?
Well, first, we need to accept it, and then we can amend it after it's been accepted and seconded.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept it.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any discussions or concerns or amendments?
Yeah, I'd like to offer two amendments or make a motion for two amendments. The first one is under scope. D, 5 is scope, section D. It talks about performing its own studies in order to craft or support proposed policies and administrative changes. I would just like to have added here, just like other committees or some other committees, that budgetary requests should be made at the time necessary and must come from the council or be approved by the council for a specific purpose.
I'm not following that. Can you restate that, please?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I could work on the wording, but basically that any expenditures need to be for specific purposes and approved by the council.
They wouldn't have any authority to spend any funds. It would have to be budgeted for in
Okay.
advance.
So by nature, that would have to come to the
It's
council
always
anyway.
had its own budget.
Yeah, the committee always
The
had a
committee's
budget.
always had its own budget, so it should have its own budget.
And they have to follow a purchasing procedure.
Yep.
They have to come, I authorize that the funds are available. And once the funds are available, we generate a purchase order. The purchase order then gets signed off by the finance department and is paid. And ultimately, the council has the last say because they can say whether they want to pay the bill or reject it.
So I think all that structure is kind of baked in, is what we're saying.
So where does, do we know offhand what the budget is?
We haven't budgeted yet.
We haven't got a budget figure in. I think in the past, their budget in their account was probably around $3,000 to $4,000, something like that, I believe, right, Mr. Hersberg?
I think it was 15,000, but if I had to guess, I would say that if we spent more than 3, that was a lot.
Yeah, it was 3,000 to 4,000. It wasn't a whole lot. Most of it was for different events and whatever.
The major event that we had was the only time we spent any kind of real money, and that was maybe $5,000. Otherwise, it was for, the bags for the businesses. When the bag thing happened, it was
Okay.
the shop local stuff that we.
I think we did some flyers at one point or booklets, something like that.
So you should not get any, whoever, this committee should not get less than it had in the past. And all purchasing procedures apply to every board, so I don't think we have to carve it out specifically.
Okay, I'll take away that.
And at what point do we do a separate appropriation for this? because it's not in the budget, is there money, I know we just went through a whole budget, presentation, et cetera. If we wanted, this committee gets up and running, what's the process for allocating money or appropriating money to?
There's a couple of processes. I mean, we actually there is a small amount that's in the budget underneath, like, one of the, I think there's one in there for economic specifically, but it's a small amount, like 3,000 or 4,000, something like that. And any other things that they would need, like if they wanted to do booklets or whatever, and say like they wanted to solicit donations, that we could actually run through a trust fund. So whatever donations they've received, we could use to.
Sam, putting you on the spot, do you happen to recall how this budget compares to the other non-statutory committees' budgets?
It's pretty much in line.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, we have, again, we have some of our committees that end up in a trust fund. We do budget money, obviously, for the summer concert series. That is a little bit higher because, the number of events they run and obviously the cost of the public address equipment and, price of the individual acts. But a lot of that money is also, they also solicit quite an amount of donations from local businesses to
Okay.
hold those events.
All right, so scratch my attempted proposal,
And
disregard
again, the
that.
way the process worked is any community or any businesses that solicit or that give donations, all that money is recorded outside of the budget. It goes into a trust fund, and it's all accountable within that trust fund. And it stays in that account. If there's money left over at the end of the year, it stays in that account to go on to the next year's events.
Okay, makes sense. The only other one is 6A, and this could be a discussion point, just about the once-a-year report. I would just suggest that we put a date in there. I was thinking December 31st, just so it doesn't burden, if people change, if the composition changes in January, those new folks aren't burdened with doing a year-end report. So the report by December 31st, or like the Environmental Commission has it by June 30th. I believe the zoning board is December 31st to the planning board. So there's two different alternatives there. So I would leave it open for discussion and recommend we put one of those two dates in there.
Okay, so that's a formal request to amend section
6A.
6.A to have that report listed here, delivered by the end of the calendar year.
Yes.
Thank you. So may I have a second on that proposed amendment?
So this says that it should be a report only summarizing policy and administrative changes recommended.
Correct.
So why, if they've recommended changes to us in writing, why would we need a report for them to give us, to go over the changes that they already gave us throughout the year? That doesn't make any sense.
I think it's just a year-end summary. I would maybe add in activities as well. So if there's,
It doesn't say that. It says, the community shall produce a written report of the council and planning to the, and why the planning board, I don't know, to the council. They report to the council once a year summarizing the policy and administrative changes recommended by the committee. So if they've already recommended them, why would they be giving a year-end report about what they've already reported, what they've already recommended?
It doesn't
So
say
two
that.
things.
It doesn't say that they've done it throughout the year.
wouldn't that be a summary for the historical sake? Just to have a,
Yep, so two things. One, the primary scope of the committee is in 5B, that it's there to solicit, formulate, and propose policy administrative changes. So that being its primary goal, in order to measure that, you want to summarize what the policy administrative changes that were produced by that committee during that year. Something similar is produced by the zoning board, that they summarize all their changes, which happen in writing during the course of the year. And the zoning board is required to provide a summary of their changes, which is
They actually make changes. This committee just makes recommendations.
correct.
That's the point.
So what's,
I would say for historical sake, it would be nice to have a year-end summary that included that plus activities. So if there was a a business event, if there was a forum, if there was other things. This is just a year-end summary of activities so that down the road, we can look back and have that historical document that summarizes it.
Yep, and
not
future
dis-
council members could also look back and say what was done in years past without sifting through individual
I'm not
reports.
disagreeing, but that's not what this says. The way it's written, that's not what it says.
And what way, I'm sorry, it says that we produce a written report once a year summarizing the changes recommended by the committee. And so what's the concern?
So Dean just said it should include things like events, like a year in review.
We could just add that, can't we?
So we
Make
can
a
add,
motion to add activities.
Policy administrative changes and events.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're in agreement.
We're trying to be. I don't understand.
There's no need to be rude, just say
I'm not
that,
being rude. You're not hearing what I'm saying. I'm trying to support what he's saying.
Okay, so, we're saying we're adding two things. We're adding the summary will include the events that the committee had, and also that a date where the report will be delivered.
Yes.
Excellent. Any other discussion on those amendments?
Yes. I've already said this, obviously you disagree, but if you're going to create minutes, you're not going to get honest opinions from these people. Some of the issues that have come up were different ways the planning or zoning office ran, the way people ran it, the way people did things that caused problems. Those discussions will never be had if they're going to be documented, because no business is going to put themselves in the crosshairs of somebody that works in town. Most of the time, I mean, since I've been here, we've had great people, and I would never be concerned about that, but I've had businesses say they are not going to bring up something that could upset the township. You are not going to get honest opinions on this committee when you do this.
The committee has had minutes before, and they're actually on our website. So I'm sorry, which minutes, you're referring to the minutes of the Economic Development Committee?
Minutes, yes.
Okay, so they're on our website right now, the minutes of the meeting, so I'm not understanding.
So just don't put in the minutes. Just put an agenda and then.
Well, the
call
committee
it topic
produces minutes right now,
brainstorming.
or it used to produce minutes.
They used to.
Yep.
Could the minutes just not attribute it to the speaker and just say this topic was discussed? Like a cross between these minutes and
very
executive
few-
session minutes?
There's very few members, and if a topic is about a particular business that had a particular interaction with town, it's not going to be real
yeah.
hard to figure out.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do this. Since that's materially different than Dean's recommendation, let's adjudicate Dean's amendment, and then we can go on to what you were suggesting with the minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, I just thought we were done with that.
So we had a motion to make the amendments that Dean had recommended, and I believe I seconded. All those in favor of adopting that amendment, that Dean's amendments, say aye.
So wait a second, that's 6A.
That's 6A. The two amendments are, we're adding the summary to include the events that the committee had sponsored, and also a date certain that to be delivered by the end of the calendar year.
Okay.
So all those in favor of adopting those two changes to 6A, say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstain? Okay, that's one change we'll add. So Councilman Hertzberg, you said you wanted to discuss 6B, that you wanted to strike 6B, that it will not keep minutes.
Correct.
Any second?
I'll second. I think you could put agenda items, but not minutes. I mean, we had the same discussion about this for other committees like the rec department, where we're doing a lot of brainstorming, but we don't want to set a false expectation if somebody sees something under brainstorming, because maybe we can't afford it. Maybe we can't bring it forward. Maybe it's not
But this is
feasible.
This is different. This
No, but
is-
I'm just saying, like,
No,
we
no, I
don't
know.
want to incorporate.
We had an agenda. We
We
need
don't
to-
want, so that's what I'm saying, as long as there's an agenda.
Right.
Then I second, you know what I mean? I don't think that, you have the year-end summary. These are open, you know, I'll second and support that, because I think that when you're brainstorming or talking about sensitive topics,
We're just asking business owners to be honest and open about what needs to be fixed in town,
right,
and nobody wants to put themselves at risk for their business to be hurt
right.
if they say something that people don't like.
So,
Okay,
I understand. Can we have a discussion?
Yes,
on that?
and now it's a discussion.
Okay. So I get, you do want, fair and full disclosure. I think if we make it very incumbent upon this economic development or business development, when they recommend a policy, they're going to have to give reasons for that policy. specific, evidence-based reasons. And if we have that, then I think we might be able to dispense with the minutes, because the minutes are simply going to hopefully verify what the reason why they've recommended a certain policy changes. But we have to balance, we want full and fair disclosure, we want them to feel comfortable, because what we don't want to have is, at the end of the year, oh, we don't recommend anything. Why is that? Because we're too scared to, because in order to do so, it's all going to be made public that we had an issue with the zoning officer, and we think they need to get rid of him or her, or whatever it is. So I think, Councilman Hertzberg's point is well taken. We do want full disclosure. And if we think that 6A will get us the reasons for the policy decision, that's the most important thing to me. I think the public has a right to know why you're recommending this policy and what's your basis for doing so, and they don't necessarily have to go through the minutia of the minutes to find that out. So I think, and I'm just basically talking to myself, convincing myself about why we probably don't need the minutes, as long as they give very thorough reasons for whatever policy and administrative changes they're recommending.
The times that we made substantive changes or substantive requests, it was done by me, and then the committee members showed up and presented it to the council.
I would also add that any policy recommendation or administrations, I think the five of us are going to require some background and justifications. I think that's probably going to be built into any recommendations, I would think.
Yeah, policy, administrative recommendations, maybe not so much, but I understand what you're
Well, administrative,
saying.
we're not talking administrative as in people, we're talking about process, right? Or,
Policy.
Policy and administrative,
Maybe
so.
the
I get the
the-
policy part, but the administrative
The
part.
application process is too heavy, so let's streamline the application process. That would be an administrative
There
change.
were administrative changes that were recommended,
Yep.
such as,
I think there should be, yeah.
Process, it's process, right? We're talking process.
Sure. That's one way to characterize it, yes.
No, but I think that, Councilman Hertzberg made some, when he had some ideas about the Economic Development Committee, he had some ideas about certain things that they should do, about streamlining, about, one-stop shopping, that were well taken. And I think that's one of the administrative policy changes that could be recommended by this this Business Development Committee. And so, I think that would fall under, in my mind, one of the administrative changes.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be clear, we're not talking about getting any recommendations from the EDC or whatever it's called about personnel. Right, yeah, okay, just want to be clear.
They would not have the authority to make recommendations as to the hiring and firing of personnel.
Yeah.
No, but they could say, hey, this town has this person in this function. Maybe Sparta wants to look at maybe having a process similar to that. Or, you know what I mean? But they can only bring recommendations. So it could be process, people. It would never be, you recommend that this person gets fired. But if there's a guardian in other, like we've taken ideas plenty of times from other municipalities that come from, excuse me, that come through the boards. Because someone does something better or more streamlined or, we really like it. And we want to, rather than reinvent the wheel, we want to recycle with pride, right? So I think we shouldn't get too hung up on the semantics. Anything that's recommended by any board has to come here and have full disclosure to every resident before anything happens to it.
I think it makes sense, yeah.
Personally, I'm uncomfortable operating without many minutes from a public-facing committee that is asked to provide policy administrative changes, but I understand Councilman Hertzberg's concerns there, and I think those are valid concerns. And quite frankly, I'm kind of conflicted as to what the right thing to do is, but that would be my comment on that. Any other comments on striking 6B from the resolution?
We have a motion and
Okay,
a
so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of striking 6B from the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? All right, 6B is now stricken.
I have one more comment.
Sure.
I don't think we have enough people on there.
That's going to be my comment too.
We had 12, and we were lucky if half those people showed up on a consistent basis. Different people, but these people were busy. They had a lot of other stuff going on, and that's why there were the number that there were for historical, for as long as, I guess, it was around, was because they learned over the time that these people were busy, and to get a consistent quorum of people, you needed a bigger group of people.
I think it's a fair point. Do you have any, so for 3A and B, do you have any numbers in mind?
I mean, I just said.
Or do you want to leave it
we had
open-ended?
about 12 people, and we had consistently about 6, 7, 8 people at the meetings.
So do you have any specific
So you wanna go back to
recommendations?
12?
So you want to go back to
And
12,
I
I'm sorry?
think, I don't agree with, I mean, I agree with.
I think I'm agreeing with you. I
look
just
For a
want
good
to
diversity.
put a number on here.
No, I know what you're saying. We can look for a good diversity of people, but you can't put them all in boxes because you're gonna have to see what the volunteers are. And you might not be able to have a certain amount of this group and a certain amount of this group. You might have to take what you get. So again, with just like the other thing, I think keeping it a little more open and evaluating the volunteers as they come in is a better move, because you might not get
Right.
the numbers of the group that you're looking for.
So with that said, we could start off with the 7 here and then leave it open-ended, or we could just say X number of owners or one or more members, or better business owners and one or more members that are residents,
We could just double A and B,
or just double it, and then we have enough to fill in as
8
much.
businesses, 4 residents.
I'm just saying, if you don't get the numbers you're looking for in this, are we gonna be back here rewriting this resolution because we dictated exactly how many of each group we needed?
Well, if we double A and B, so we'll have 8 plus 4 plus 2, we'll have 14 people. We don't necessarily have to fill all 14 spots. So we can appoint, we'll get the ball rolling and get the applications coming in. And then, so we can word this like up to 8 members who are business owners and up to 4 residents.
Right now, we're at 7 plus we have 3 liaisons, right?
Why
So
don't
we're
you
at
just-
10.
Why are we having so
about-
many residents? We want more businesses. So it's a business development committee. So why are we labeling everybody that can be on this thing? Why don't we say a max of, like,
Well, here's what I was gonna suggest. You put A and B together and you don't designate how many of each group, and you see what you get.
The current EDC has specific spots for people who are not business owners.
Yeah,
Because maybe residents did have concerns that, I don't want businesses operating this way or that way. So it's a sort of the resident voice on the committee. I think that was a good idea.
I don't disagree with having residents. I mean, we had residents that were involved in certain industries that had unique perspectives from their industry and just from being a resident. Quite honestly, most of the business owners were residents also, so they have they serve dual purposes,
but not all,
but not all.
which is a good blend. And you also want small business, large business. I do agree. We stay with that. I
You
have,
just can't dictate who you're gonna get to volunteer, so it's just.
right.
Okay, so what should we change A and B to? Can
I
you
would
give
say, just put, a number that you're looking for and say of business owners and residents designated by the council.
and what that number could be 10?
So it's, if you double it, it's
I
12.
think that's,
That's a pretty big group when you add on the other 4, right? Chamber of Commerce and 3 liaisons.
Yeah, but I don't think that, the other thing is too, the Chamber of Commerce you already have a member of council on here. That member of council or a member of council is already a liaison to the local chamber.
I'll be honest, the chamber had an open invitation and they would come sometimes and they're not coming every meeting.
So I don't think we
They've got
waste
their
a
own
spot to
meetings.
make it a permanent thing.
They've got their own meetings, they've got their own businesses. We always gave them an open invitation, and
Right.
when they had important stuff they wanted to discuss, they would show up and do that.
And you guys showed up there when there were things to share.
Right.
So I mean, I don't think we want to necessarily hold up a spot for that. I think it's important to say in the scope that these entities work together. The business development, works in partnership or stays in touch with, but I don't think we have to mandate how it happens.
I mean, it doesn't matter either way, right? You can put them on, but they're not gonna show up when they can't, which, I mean, they're busy, they have their own meetings to go to, and
Right.
they have their own stuff. They had an open invitation, so even not being put on the committee directly, they could show up and have a discussion anytime they wanted to.
So why don't we just not let the numbers of A and B, like you were saying, don't let them be affected by having a Chamber of Commerce person on there, but still leave it on there so the intention is there.
That's fine.
Yeah, so we leave A and B at 12 and then have the other 4 liaisons.
So we'll combine A and B to have 12 members who are either residents or business owners. And I think,
I do think we should strive to have a couple business owners, a couple residents who are not business owners.
I think that's a
We will.
fair point,
I think it
too.
should be
A
10.
resident can be a non-business owner.
That's what I mean, I think we should have,
You're saying business owners and residents, not designating that they have to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think Councilman Hertzberg's point is that you can't decide the allocation now. And so what we need as much latitude as we can. And I think the intention's clear that we're not going to stack it with 12 business owners. There will be non-business owners, so you have a full and fair discussion and a whole range of ideas, so.
So is the number 10, we said?
Well, wasn't
12? 12 who are both business owners or residents. Are we striking 3C? Do we want to,
no, I think we said we'd leave that.
like that, we
Not
leave
let
that
it
in
affect-
whether or not they, that's fine. And then we do have on 5C that statement here that they would partner with the Chamber of Commerce, and so that's there as well. So I think the change that we're offering is that we're combining 3A and B into one line of business owners and residents. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so was that motion made and approved, seconded? I
Made and
think it was.
seconded.
Okay, all those in favor of adopting that, and again, to be clear before we vote, that we're combining 3A and B into one line that says that there will be up to 12 members of the committee who are either residents or business owners, defined as we did. All those in favor of that change, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? Okay, so that will be adopted.
Mayor,
Yep.
what are you doing for C?
C is leaving, we're leaving C the same. Combine and with 12. Okay,
Can I?
No, C, we said was
He's
was
separate.
happening, that's
Well,
separate.
his point is that A now becomes
Well,
A
yeah.
and B, and
Right.
C becomes B.
Can I make
Okay.
a comment before we move on?
sure.
I would just like to say I'm proud of us for getting through that, and it took a long time, but tonight's discussion on this, I think, was encouraging. Leave it at that. We can agree and
completely
work
agree.
together.
Any other, thank you, Dean, Councilman Mobetti. Any other comments on, or markups on Resolution 9-12? Okay, hearing none, so I would like to make a motion to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry,
Sorry.
I'm just trying to follow through all these changes.
I'll
And my
enumerate 'em.
paper looks like a complete disaster, so I'm just trying to say. So where we say these 3 non-voting members, from the planning board, the zoning board, and the council, so those are 3 non-voting members that do not have an impact on the 12.
Correct,
Those 3 spots don't take away from the 12.
correct.
Okay, so I just want to be clear on that. And where it says C, I don't think we need to make a deal about this, but be mindful also should partner with the Sparta, should work alongside or partner with or whatever, the Sparta Township Chamber and the SCEDP, the county chamber too. So if you want to include one, you should include the other. If you just make,
Well, I don't think the county chamber, I mean.
they're not interested?
Well, they have representatives on the Sparta chamber.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I
that's
think by
right.
extension,
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah, okay, so then we could take that out. Then that's the only thing.
Okay.
And I don't think we need to make any changes on it. I just wanted to be clear that the non-voting liaison members were not going to affect the 12.
Correct. Okay, so here's where we landed. We will make I'll have a motion to approve 9-12 with the following 6 changes. Change number 1, we will change 6A to add that the summary will include events and also to be delivered by the end of the calendar year. We'll change, we'll strike 6B. And the third one, we will combine 3A and 3B into 12 residents and business owners. And I think that's it. So may I have a motion to do so?
Didn't we just vote on all that?
We voted on the amendment.
Amended it already, you're just asking for a
on
motion
the actual
to
thing.
approve the resolution as amended.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution as amended.
Excellent. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Blumetti,
Yes.
Councilman Hertzberg,
Yes.
Councilwoman Quinn,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark,
Yes.
Mayor Chiarello.
Yes, the resolution is approved as amended.
So because this is time sensitive, now that we have this, are we making a motion to put a member of the council to get this thing off the ground? We're late into the year. I mean,
That's a good point. We can do that right now.
so I'd like to make a motion to nominate Councilman Hertzberg to serve as the chair of EDC. Oh, no, not EDC, what is it called? Business Development.
BDC.
BDC.
So I'm making a motion to appoint Councilman Hertzberg as the chair, or the council member chair of the Business Development.
It's the liaison, I think, right?
Liaison, right?
The liaison to, sorry. Should I say that again? I'm making a motion to nominate Councilman Hertzberg to serve as the liaison to the Business Development Committee.
Excellent. I will second that myself. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? All right, we have a new council liaison to the committee.
So we also need to have this added to the volunteer sheet.
Yes, that and the resolution, the Revolution NJ committee.
So Roxanne, if you follow up with that and just make sure that we get the Business Development Committee as well as the Revolution New Jersey 250. Those two things need to be added to the online volunteer form so that we can get these things off the ground.
Excellent, thank you. Moving right along, Resolution 9-13, may I have a motion to introduce, to approve Resolution 9-13 for the supporting Sparta's continued enjoyment of the state's water for drinking, water and recreation without harm to agriculture.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 9-13.
Excellent, may I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilman Blumetti, do you have any comment or introduction or just
Yeah, I was just going to ask Dean if you could just
where this came from?
summarize,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
summarize it in your own words.
said it
what
better.
it's about.
Yeah, sure. This is a resolution that is being recommended and supported by a lot of townships in Northwest New Jersey. It is pretty much, it's non-committal, it's not requiring money of the township. It's really a proclamation of our support and encouragement, really aimed at the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection to ensure that they consider a number of aspects in terms of protecting our water for drinking purposes, for recreational purposes. That one especially, there's a lot of ways when they evaluate water, the value of our waters, that they're today not including enough recreational value of our waters. So this is to help support them and encourage them when they look at policies, when they look at rules, when they look at how do we keep our water clean, to go ahead and make sure that they're considering all these valuable assets that they are to towns. Obviously, not only for drinking and for health and recreation, but for environmental purposes, for agriculture. So it's helping make sure that they focus on those aspects, including the headwaters and the tributaries of the streams that we rely on for our own enjoyment and also for some economic value to the township.
Excellent, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion or add that at the end of this resolution, it states that copies will be sent to a couple different entities. I would like to also have us send a copy of this to the New Jersey DEP Commissioner, Sean LaTourette.
So is this being brought forth by you or by the Environmental Commission? Does the Environmental Commission know about this?
No, good point. Actually, I should have started with that. This came from the Environmental Commission initially. There's an initiative called the Great Waters of New Jersey. It's supported by half a dozen or more nonprofits. And they were actually in to speak at the Environmental Commission a few months ago, and they've been making the rounds in Northwest New Jersey. So the Environmental Commission drafted this recommendation over the last month or so and submitted this for the council's consideration as a resolution. So thank you for,
But it's a
I should have mentioned
recommendation
that.
from environmental.
Yep, exactly.
And you said you wanted to amend it to also send a copy to the New Jersey State?
New Jersey DEP Commissioner.
Okay. And I believe you sent that, the person's name, did you send that to?
I have it
already?
here. Yeah, I can send it or give it to you.
So we're not committing to anything other than
This
the
is
fact that
ceremonial,
we
I think.
support their efforts, period. There's no monetary, there's no
Correct.
nothing, we're just, this is a resolution of support.
Yep, yep. It's a resolution of support and encouragement that the DEP looks carefully at these and when they value
And it was
programs.
brought, and it was brought forward by environmental, so I'll stand behind, I'll second.
Yep.
And Dean, I just want to say, like, I 100% support things like this. Where I have problems is when we're talking about burdening the Sparta taxpayer for certain things that the state, who is supposed to be in charge of protecting all this stuff, turns a blind eye and puts that on the backs of our taxpayers. You know, I get concerned when I hear the planning board talking about, you know, wanting to spray beet juice on the roads and alternatives that clearly are way out of whack to actually be able to do and not completely burden the taxpayer. This is the kind of stuff, lobbying Trenton, if they really want to see some substantive change, they should be ponying up the money, and we should be supporting that, but it should never be on the backs of our taxpayers alone.
Yep, I would agree. Except the part about the beet juice. That's a separate discussion. There is, used properly, there has been cases where it does
Right, let's not
have
get
a
on
bigger
that.
effect. Exactly, but
Let's
so.
not
I'm not saying it wouldn't work.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's not
I know.
go there.
I don't know
Let's
how many
just
beets we can
stay-
fit in our new shed.
No, well, probably about 10,000 tons of pumpkin beets. Yeah, by the way, one of the stipulations is here is that any actions by the NJDEP are done in consultation with stakeholders, including municipalities. So that's written into here as well.
Okay, so the motion
We
was
have a
made
motion and a
to,
second.
No, I think there's more discussion, if we can.
sure. Well, first, actually, Dean made I'm sorry, Councilman Blumetti made a motion to amend the resolution to also send a copy to the DEP Commissioner. And for expedience's sake, I'll second that. Is there any questions on that? All those in favor of making that amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, we made that one amendment, so go ahead.
Sure, I think that now is probably the appropriate time as we're, you know, we've had discussions about, you know, government overreach and, you know, particularly about this state putting mandates that we have to follow and then we burden the taxpayer. I don't want, you know, based on my things that have come to my attention, putting the Department of Environmental Protection as, you know, there's underreach by this department. And I think a very good example of that actually unfortunately occurred in July of 2017. There were two 3,000-gallon leaded gasoline tanks that were removed from 33 Demarest Road. And there was discharge found with that. And the discharge, there was discharge, they found discharge and they had to remove two leaded gasoline tanks. As folks know, leaded gasoline was what, outlawed in the 70s? And so, and then because the DEP is understaffed, what they do is you have to remediate. And so they couldn't do it with in-house people. They had to outsource it to a so-called licensed remediation professional. And they left that up to the owner of the property to pick that licensed professional. Unfortunately, the person that they picked had at least 4 violations of the Site Remediation Professional Licensing Board, complaints against him, and that maybe not related to his remediation efforts with this particular property, but other, you know, prior properties. And so they picked someone with a rather checkered history, to say the least, to do that remediation, which of course brings into and draws into the confidence that we have about the remediation efforts that occurred at 33 Demarest Road. Now, I say all this just to say that we hear a lot about overreach. There's also underreach. and that we need to be assured that these state agencies are actually doing what they're supposed to do. And as we know, we live in a very environmentally sensitive area. And it's more important here than probably a lot of places where you're over an aquifer and that provides, 70% of the water for New Jersey. We better be sure that the person we have remediating this doesn't have such a checkered past. And so I say all this because it seems like an appropriate time while we're encouraging DEP to, encourage use of the water and assure water quality. We also have to be careful that they may not be doing what we expect them to do. So,
And along those same lines, my frustration is you have them allowing things like this, yet they're harassing local farmers, coercing them into taking their land and then trying to get them to spray chemicals on their farm. So there's a lot of frustration with these government agencies.
Okay. Any other comments on Resolution 9-13? Hearing none, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Blumetti,
Yes.
Councilman Hertzberg,
Yes.
Councilwoman Quinn. Yes. Deputy Mayor Clark,
yes.
Mayor Chiarello.
Yes, the resolution has passed with that one amendment. Resolution 9-14 is a reintroduction, or is a resolution to amend the municipal budget. And I will ask our CFO if we can color that a little bit.
Sure. Basically, once the state reviewed our budget, there were some changes, some additional state revenue that came in after the fact from when we originally started putting the budget together. So we had to do the amendments to put that additional revenue source in, which will actually help to decrease our tax rate by about $55,000. Not a whole lot, but it's going to decrease it. But unfortunately, some of the lines that changed were more than 10% of what their original total was. When you do that, the state requires you to do a resolution that needs to be approved by mayor and council to change those different budget lines. So while we were doing that, we moved some other ones around that were changed as well, so that we could get all the changes done at once, like moving from one account to the other, or whatever, where we looked at it.
Excellent, thank you.
And this was all looked over by our auditor and approved.
Okay. Thank you. May I have a motion to approve Resolution 9-14?
Make a motion to approve Resolution 914.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you. Any discussion or comments or other questions about that?
Okay, this will also basically, we will have to have a second hearing, public hearing on the budget, which will be the next meeting. Because this resolution is required to be advertised within the local paper, and we solicit public comment at that time.
Is it 28 days?
10 days.
10 days, okay.
Is there a 20?
Well, it has
because
to be advertised at least 10 days prior to so it'll be on the next meeting.
Is there
Okay.
a 20% shift? That's what drives this? Isn't the?
There was a line item, I think, that shifted 20%
Right,
because of
but
this
it's a
50,000.
20%, so it's because it's a 20%
No,
shift?
no, a 10% change in the individual line item. So let's say if you had a budget appropriation of $100 and you made it 110,
Right.
you have to advertise it and go through the whole process of a public hearing and everything else
I
again.
thought it was 20. Okay,
Yeah, 20% of our whole budget change, we'd be in trouble.
yeah, we'd be in big trouble.
This is actually the amount raised by taxation because of the insert of the additional state aid. Actually, it's going down $55,000, so.
So do we want to, does this have to be, so Tom, does this have to be advertised as an ordinance with a hearing?
No, it gets advertised as a budget amendment.
Okay.
And there will be a separate public hearing, which at that point, I'll do another whole handout of my pie charts and graphs to reflect all the proper numbers. Once we said the state says that we can adopt.
Got it.
So it's on the Division of Local Government right now.
Okay.
And you may have mentioned this, but the effect of the budget amendment on the tax burden for the residents.
Well, actually, our original tax, and this is municipal tax only, we have no control over the school or the county, would remain the same. So we have a 0% increase.
So
It
does
may,
not
it may
affect
go
the
down a
tax burden.
fraction now, but, because there was the additional revenue source offered by the state, so.
Okay, excellent. We have the resolution has been made and seconded. All those in favor of adopting or approving Resolution 9-4, actually, may I have a roll call vote, please? Just to,
Councilman Blumetti.
Yes.
Councilman Hertzberg.
Yes.
Councilwoman Quinn.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark.
Yes.
Mayor Chiarello.
yes, the resolution is passed. Council liaison updates. I'll start with Councilman Blumetti. Any liaison updates?
Yes, Environmental Commission, first item is the water quality resolution we just went through. So thank you again to the commission for their hard work, especially in looking into researching some of the details and data that's included in that about Sparta and its water resources. Secondly, good news is the commission just received word of a grant approval, $1,500 from ANJEC, which is the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions. The proposal that was submitted was to work on the Sparta Glen, and specifically to use much of that for tree planting. As many of you know, a lot of ash trees were lost and some other trees, and there's an opportunity to help reforest part of the Sparta Glen, and that's going to be done in coordination with the Parks and Rec Department, who already was involved with the grant and saw the grant proposal. Third is the commission recently reviewed a planning board application and is finalizing the report. It was application PB 705. It's for a proposed building at the Sparta Medical Campus across from Anderson Farms. It's going to be finalized and sent to the planning board. Secondly, Historical Society, I'm going to mention what I did last meeting, just because we won't meet again before this event for the veterans. Again, the Historical Society is hosting a Sparta Salutes and Thanks Veteran events for the veterans and their families. It's going to be at the Van Kirk Museum. 2-day event, Saturday, June 10th, 11 to 4, and Sunday, June 11th, 11 to 2. And again, the purpose is to thank you and recognize the sacrifice that veterans have made. Also to exhibit some historical military equipment from assorted wars. And they're looking to have a representative from the administration on site to answer questions veterans might have. There will be food available for purchase, and admission is free, but there will be donation buckets available if you'd like. The proceeds will be split evenly between the Historical Society and the Wounded Warriors Project. So again, it's coming up June 10th and 11th. And finally, I don't typically report on planning board activities or subcommittees, but I did want to recognize Michelle Landau for temporarily taking on the role of the board secretary for the time being, which is no small task, especially with the subcommittee work, 2 subcommittees that are at work. And also as the Environmental Commission Secretary, and I presume, or I believe, the temporary Zoning Board Secretary. So just wanted to thank her on behalf of the Planning Board. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Clark?
Sure. I think I shared last time with Lake Mohawk that they passed the preferred budget, that there will be, lifeguards, Marine Patrol, et cetera. I think recently there's been a suggestion to change some of the bylaws. That's under consideration. What impact that would have on, our role and our relationship with them is to be determined. I have to review those and then, which I will do. But there is a pending, petition going to change some of the bylaws about certain, how the Board of Trustees are, vote of confidence, et cetera. But I will review that and make a determination whether that has any impact on our relationship with them. And I'll do so before the next meeting.
Thank you. Councilman Hertzberg?
Yeah, 2 things from the Senior Advisory Committee. One, the County Economic Development Committee asked me to consider providing earlier bus rides for workers for some of the businesses in North Village from all the other side of town As you know, Sparta is quite a large township land-wise, and apparently a lot of the businesses were having trouble getting their employees to and from work. The only bus that we have is the senior bus, so I wanted to talk to the seniors about it. I brought it up to them. They were receptive to it in the capacity that the businesses would pay a certain amount, and that would either offset the cost of their bus or increase the services that are provided to them. So that's something that I want to bring up to the rec director, and I don't know exactly how the buses run and what their schedule is and what we pay for drivers, et cetera, but that's something that the economic development in the county was asking for. The other thing is the seniors were asking about the development behind Burger King and what the status is. As I'm sure everyone is aware, the senior housing situation in Sparta is pretty grim. I think there's like a 5-year waiting list if a senior retires and they need housing help. They're pretty much waiting 5 years, and I think, they're looking for developments that are more reasonable, more affordable housing in town, and they heard that, that project might be being looked at. I don't know what the status of it is, but they were asking if they should come to a meeting and express how they feel about it and how much they need help as far as housing goes.
The bus idea, is that, back to that, where would it be bringing people from, like North Village to a certain destination, or?
Or vice versa, I don't know, maybe, depending on where the workers are, I think you'd have to designate spots, and they'd have to at least walk to those designated spots. But that's something I didn't even want to have that discussion until the seniors were okay with it.
Okay, yeah.
Has the planning board started to take up that issue, or is interested to take up the issue of senior housing? Is that something that within the scope of the planning board? Has it come up?
It's really not yet until there's an application for, so.
Application or
Yeah.
zoning certain areas that would encourage that?
The future visioning or future planning, a master plan work would obviously incorporate some of that, but nothing specific besides applications right now.
I mean, I can tell you that I did speak to someone who was considering buying that project. And in the past, other developers who have built buildings, I've always suggested to them that they're gonna have an easier time if they bring senior co-housing into it. Just because I knew our need, and that was one of the things that we always needed. But that person who was interested in buying that project didn't want to spend the money to even go that next step without knowing if the township was even going to consider it. And that's, to be quite honest, that's what I'm hearing from a lot of businesses, is that the planning board changes have scared businesses to come. They're not going to spend the money to get to the next step, thinking that everything's going to be denied. So.
There's also the Laddie Lane project, I think is moving forward, from what I understand. That I think is going to have some senior housing, I believe, right?
Does
The
have,
entire thing.
affordable housing.
Whole thing.
Dedicated to senior housing.
Yeah.
That entire thing is 50, it's senior housing,
There's
but that's been going on and on and on
There's a
for
huge hurdle with water.
Over 20 years.
Yeah.
over 20 years.
Yeah.
It would be great if it gets done. I just don't know.
Yeah, it would be great.
They've submitted some documents more recently. I'm not sure if that's the usual routine, but seems like something's moving. Laddie Lane.
Laddie Lane.
Yeah. Back behind the
That's all I
building.
have.
Thank you. Councilwoman Quinn?
So, again, I want to just thank the DPW, their crew. The banners look amazing. We've doubled, so if you drive through town, you can see they're doubled now. We do have space for 44 more. We're running out of poles, which is a great problem to have. We have 200 and I think they said 60. It just looks great. And we're very, very happy to be working with Lake Mohawk, as Susan said, to have all of the banners now down in the plaza. We have Winona left, the poles up Winona open as well. But to be able to have, for Jim Zepp and his crew to be able to get them all up in time for the Memorial Day Parade, which I also want to talk about. The parade will happen on Monday at 10 o'clock. All Everybody is encouraged to come. It's being sponsored by the Sparta VFW, so we encourage, again, everyone to come down to the plaza. It'll be going up and down East Shore Trail. So please mark your calendars accordingly. And that's this, with regard to the payment as well, Pizza Way, and you were away last week and Pizza Way this week, so there have been checks collected that are coming to the township to offset the cost. It's just that you weren't here, then he wasn't here. So he said he's gonna get it for me when he comes back, and then we'll bring over one check. They're gonna put one check together and make it payable as Sparta Township. So we'll get that when he comes back. He'll be back this week, Sunday, I think. And also, we are very excited that we are going to be launching a public-private partnership for Salute 07871 initiatives, where we're going to be asking local businesses to partner and be able to do fundraising events and such and different things of that nature to support our veterans and different services that we're providing to the veterans in our community and beyond. So that's going to be a public-private partnership that will launch shortly. That's everything from Salute 07871. The Rec Advisory Committee did meet. The manager gave an update. There's, with regard to the AED, so the defibrillators, they're looking at another provider, but everything is in works. There is more information that will be coming about that. The process will stay exactly the same as we've already mapped it out. And the rec department is also looking at different safety measures within the parks as well. That'll be a topic for an upcoming conversation. The open mic night, the manager spoke about already, so that's something that's going to be new this year. We encourage all residents to come and join us for that as well. With regard to the Municipal Alliance, we had our meeting as well, and you had asked us, we were requested to look at the correspondence that came from the state with regard to liquor licenses and increasing the amount of liquor licenses. The Municipal Alliance resource team felt collectively that, first of all, there was not enough information that was provided, which is not uncommon from the state, to even be able to make a decision. But further to that point, because the entire platform of what the Alliance stands for is to drive people away from substance use, we felt collectively that we would be in favor of less, not more in general. So at this time, the Municipal Alliance is making a recommendation that we not take any measures to support additional liquor licenses. That was what we were tasked to do. So that was that. The other thing, which is sad to report, Project Graduation 2023 has been canceled, which is very sad for our students at the high school. From an Alliance standpoint, our funding does not run January to December. It runs June to June. So we had additional funds that we had earmarked for Project Graduation that needed to be spent by June, or we have to give them back. So we did an online survey. Everyone agreed. We reallocated the money to be able to provide 2 sets of T-shirts for our unified sports program. They're going to the Special Olympics in 2 weeks. So we were able to allocate monies there. We were also able to allocate monies for the LEAD program, so upcoming LEAD Day, which is happening in June. We were also able to allocate additional funding to support the Senior Olympics. So the Alliance has been extremely busy this past 3 weeks, and that's everything that's going on from there. The Health Committee is meeting this Friday, and other than that, that's all I have for committee reports. Councilman Hertzberg gave already the one for the seniors. And again, congratulations to this year's recipient, Wendy Stamer, Outstanding Older American Award, phenomenal. And also just a quick update while we're on the topic of Outstanding Olders. Robert Nicholson Sr. will be celebrating his 95th birthday this weekend. So I think it's worth, he's done an awful lot for this community and beyond. So I wanted to make sure that we mentioned that in the senior report as well. Okay, that's it for me, for committee report.
Excellent, thank you. I can offer a couple things. The Cultural Affairs Committee has now finalized their schedule, and that includes both the opening and the acts, as well as the featured artists. The first concert is Friday, June 30th. And they are currently looking for additional sponsors and support. So if you're interested in supporting the arts, spartaarts.org, I believe is the website. The library board met on May 10th, and I really don't have much to report on that. The library continues to function wonderfully, and our circulation is up month over month again. So I think I'll leave it at that. There were no unfinished business carried over. So in terms of new business, I'll start with Councilwoman Quinn.
No new business at this time.
Thank you. Councilman Hertzberg?
I have none.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Clark?
No new business.
Thank you. Councilman Blumenauer?
I'd just like to throw out there Councilwoman Quinn's mention, her experience, or what she's told us about that Sussex County business-friendly opportunity, not award, but certification, whatever that was. And maybe the boat's already gone, but maybe is there a way we can look through that and go through the questions or evaluate that a little bit more to see if there are any root causes or anything that's missing that we could put our hands on quickly, low-hanging fruit, or kind of what the reasons are that we don't think we could, fill out and successfully get certified.
Well, the good news is, we just picked up 10 points tonight. So that's good news.
Yeah.
And the rest of it is going to come through the reestablishment of this business committee. You have to have that. That's a big piece of it because a lot of the criteria around it, I have the criteria. It was sent out by Tammy Horsfield, but if you want to call me, or I'm happy to email it to you so that you can take a look through it. But it's called the Business Friendly Certification, and it's offered by the SCEDP. So just send me an email if you want it, and I'll send you over what I have.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
happy to do that, or if you want to meet and grab a coffee, and I'll walk you through it.
Yeah. I mean, do you believe there are lots of other areas on there that we still aren't hitting now that we have the BDC established?
We need the committee itself, but then what we also need is, there's a lot of infrastructure questions. Do you offer online things? We don't have a intact land use board right now. So a lot of the things that are on this form, we're also not going to be able to hit right now until these things start rebuilding a little bit. But they're things that are attainable for sure. And I think that now that this committee is back together again, that in partnership with this department rebuilding will put us in a very good position, hopefully, to be able. There's only 10 things on it. I'll send it to you, like I said. But so you could take a look at it yourself. But we did pick up 10 points tonight, so that's a good thing.
Okay. I think it would be valuable for us to each look at those 10 items and see what we can resolve and where the gaps really are.
Yep.
Maybe you could share those with the whole council if you
Sure.
may. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
No more
I left over. Okay. I've got a couple things. Number one, just a brief update on the township manager search process. I was informed today, I think it was today, might have been yesterday, from the consultant performing our search that we've received about a dozen applicants so far. The application or the advertisement went into the New Jersey League of Municipalities website or form, or I don't think the printed magazine contains the ads, but in any case, the advertisement has been out. It was a 30-day advertisement. It runs until the end of this month, and we're still collecting applicants, and the next step would be for the consultant to sift through that and give us recommendations on that. And that'll happen within the next week or two, I guess, because it's at the end of the month right now. Secondly, we had planned to, as we had done in the past couple of years, recognize the June for Pride Month. That proclamation is being moved back to the second June 27th meeting so that we can accommodate more people that wanted to attend from the organization. But for June 13th, we're looking to bring in the Sussex County Chamber of Commerce for a short presentation on tourism in the county. We're still making those arrangements, so we're penciled in, but we'll know more hopefully within the next couple of days if there'll be a short presentation at the next meeting on tourism in the county from the chamber. And lastly, I'll mention that Deputy Mayor Clark and I did participate in a meeting, I guess you call it a presentation or so with the Highlands Council. And we think that the information that we shared in that would be valuable to both the council at large as a whole, as well as the planning board. So we were trying to make arrangements for a special combined meeting of the council and the planning board so that everybody can share in this presentation. And we're looking at this point at the end of July, since we usually cancel the second meeting in July and August during the summer. And so by nature of a special meeting, there will be no business conducted. This is just a presentation with a Q&A, open to the public, council and planning board. And I'll circulate some dates around the council to see if there's any interest in, if there's any dates that are good or bad for people. Again, we're looking toward the end of July, a couple of dates. That's all I have.
So you're switching the meetings. The first meeting in June is going to be the tourism presentation.
Pennsylvania, nothing's been decided specifically yet, but that's what we're aiming for.
Pride proclamation.
Correct, yeah, that's what we're shooting for now, but nothing's set yet.
So I'm going on record right now as saying I may be on vacation that last week in June. So I did not know this was going to get moved. I'm just saying right now, there's a very good chance I'm going to be out on vacation.
Okay, this just came in, I think, 2 days ago.
Okay, that's fine, but I'm just saying.
Sorry. So that's all the new business, and now it's open to the public for anything that you want to talk about.
Hi, Mayor. Mike Devine, Oak Parkway. I had two fast comments and a recommendation. First of all, I agree with Councilman Blumetti. The salt shed problem, I know it's fait accompli. You're going ahead, and that's great. Or if anything, we're going to err on the side of having a lot of salt, maybe some salt to sell. But in my mind, in experiencing problems like that, you have a lot of variables that have to be traded off. What do you say by building a shed? What do you say by contracting? What do you say per volume of salt you buy? What do you gain by selling it, et cetera, et cetera? What do we need based on history? All those things should be kind of pushed together in a rigorous way. Then you have a logical basis for what you do. Just my opinion. It's irrelevant. In this case, maybe going forward, I would recommend you maybe be a little bit more rigorous in those kind of discussions, especially when how much money's involved. Secondly, I guess it's a sore point, and I know all about the Faulkner Act. I've been through it. I know the roles of the manager, what council can do with employees, et cetera. If I heard the thing that Councilman Hertzberg brought up, frankly, I would be very concerned, and I would try to get the council to say to the manager, it's not our business. Please look into it. Is there something systemic going here? Is it just normal turnover? People retiring? Is there anything to this? And if so, what can we collectively do about it? I think it's a problem that would concern me, frankly, and I understand not overstepping council's bounds. The last one is, you guys have been through a tough time through 6 months. Pardon me if I say guys, you people. Contentious election, I mean, the warehouse and all those things, a lot of barbs going in a lot of directions. And you're in a tough spot, frankly. I really would like to see you mesh further together. I think you really evidenced the ability to do that in the last half hour or so. I think Councilman Hertzberg and Councilman Quinn have a great deal of knowledge that can be beneficial. They know how a lot of things work. We were worried tonight about losing experience and history in the town staff. We have the same situation with the council. You've got, being very frank, in all the councils I've seen in my time, I think this one has about the most promise of any to really accomplish great things. I think you just need to get a little bit over some of the contentiousness, and I think it looks to me like it's working. It's kind of amateurish, but I know in the past we've done goal-setting sessions and even facilitated team building things. Maybe there's a more sophisticated way to phrase it, something you might want to consider. I thought you saw a great example tonight of how you can move past this contentiousness. We had Molly get recognized. We had Dave get recognized. Both of them shook hands with everybody here. I mean, Dave was the subject of a lot of crap, some probably from me, frankly. he hasn't missed a beat in what he's doing for this town. He showed up tonight, he made himself available. I think it's a credit to his personality and to his character. I just hope that we can all learn from it. I know, having been in circumstances like you are, it's not easy. There's personality difference, there's philosophical difference, maybe even political differences. But for the good of the town, I hope that we can all kind of move past that and work together like you did on the Business Development Commission. Really happy to see Councilman Hertzberg involved with that, so thanks. By the way, I'm old, so I can say this stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Tom Eisenberg, 128 Sussex Mills Road, up it very quick. I second what Mayor Devine,
Ex-mayor.
ex-mayor, right, I
Way
know.
back when
Former,
you were
was called,
president.
said the comedy and moving forward and the employee issue, right, your job isn't to look at why this guy left or he's not paid enough or whatever. But the comedy and the image that the town is projecting from the town council and from the planning board, we're open for business, we're moving forward, that's the important thing. And that will attract good employees and keep good employees in Sparta. The agenda is a wonderful thing. Is it on the web before the meetings? And if so, how do I find it? Because, sometimes one might want to come for this part or that part, or have a comment after reading a whole resolution.
The agenda is on the web.
Under agendas and meetings.
I'm sorry?
It's under agendas and meetings.
If you go toward the middle of the
I don't
website,
think
you'll
it was
see
on
a,
there. Because I looked for it too, and April 26th was the most recent one that I could see.
Yeah.
No, it is on, the May 9th was on there.
You have to
The-
just
Wait,
go to
one
the
at a
next.
time, please. One at a time. Please.
May 9th meeting was on, and this one, I checked, this one is.
Where is it again?
It's on our website under agendas and meetings.
Sparta.org?
Yes.
Sparta NJ.
Jay.
And it says like town council and then agenda for the May,
And meetings, under government.
and this whole thing is on there? Great, good job. How about the planning board and zoning boards? Are there stuff on there too? Okay, that's good to know. The committees, you're kind of going through, and again, great setting up the BDC, et cetera. There should be an odd number, right, on each committee of members in order to get a majority in case there's something contentious and you don't have like 12 and 6. So just make sure like 7 is now become whatever, 12 or 14 or 15. The other point is, why for the BDC is the liaisons non-voting? Because that would mean Councilman Hertzberg would not have a vote on the
I think
economic.
To be honest with you, I was going to address that, Tom.
Okay.
But I can count on one hand, I can count on one finger how many times we actually took a vote in 5 years, 6 years on the committee. So that's why I didn't make a big deal about it. I mean, I do think planning, council, I think they bring valuable information. I think their input should count. But honestly, I don't think it matters because, when you're sitting in that room, you're not putting, usually you all come to an agreement when you're going to put something forward to council that you think deserves to be changed. I've never seen it where we had to actually take a vote and vote, everybody usually leaves that room on the same page.
That's great.
so the nature of it's an advisory committee, so there's by nature really nothing to vote on except for the selection of a committee chair. That's really the only thing.
Well,
that
yeah,
really
no,
comes into play.
there's recommendations to
Yes.
be done, and, the committee has to decide what's recommended. Do we recommend 6 things or these 5 things, and I guess Councilman Hertzberg saying that everyone agrees and it's a very friendly situation. Okay.
Yeah, and I
That's
think
good.
also, sort of to piggyback on the point that Councilman Hertzberg made about having a full and frank discussion, I wouldn't want a situation where, the vote comes down to a member of town council when you're on the opposite side of a business owner who now says, well, I don't really want to get, Councilman Hertzberg upset, so I'm going to vote, in his favor. So to have them non-voting lets them feel, kind of frees them up to do what they want to do. So I think that's another reason why it makes sense not to have members of town council, planning board, and zoning board be voting members, so that people feel at liberty to vote the way they want to vote.
They still may not want to get someone pissed off.
They're still going to know they're voting against or.
Yeah, they still may not want to get someone pissed off, it's just nature of the beast, it's okay. Like you always say, Neil, we have to get along and express opinions and move forward.
Yeah, I
Good
think
job.
that we shouldn't have, I mean, maybe it's just my training and background. It doesn't, vigorous disagreement, is how good decisions get made, right? And it just, you gotta put your personality at the door and your sensitivity at the door and focus on the merits of whatever is being proposed, right? And if you focus on that, you can, and if people of good faith, come to it, you can disagree. It's okay. It's all right. And I don't, that you see disagreement. I hear a lot about comedy. I think that's great. That is, but I think what we don't want to do as a public body is to simply say, for the sake of appearances, let's just stifle and suppress disagreement for fear of people seeing us as being disagreeable. And I think that if we present ourselves of people of good faith, that we want, evidence-based decisions, then we are going to have disagreement. And I think that's the way kind of democracy works and way decent policy works. So I'm all for comity, but I don't want people to get the false impression to mean that there won't be debate and there won't be disagreement. I think there will be, and I think that's healthy, and I think people don't need to feel put off by that. Maybe I'm just more used to it, but I think, I'm all for it. I think that, and I agree. I think Councilman Hertzberg and Councilwoman Quinn have a wealth of experience and knowledge, and they should, of course, and we need that. And then, we need also new folks who say, well, just because this is the way we've done it, maybe we can do it a different way. That's okay. That's how good decisions get made. So, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
And I can build on that very quickly, and speaking only for myself, I firmly believe at my core that Councilwoman Quinn, Councilman Hertzberg, Deputy Mayor Clark, and Councilman Blumetti all at their cores, at their own cores, want what's best for this town. Of that I will never have any doubt. And it's, now we're just arguing about the middle. But I hope you recognize that, at least for speaking for myself, that I firmly believe that.
Absolutely. It's a great town, so
Thank you.
All
Yeah.
five.
Thanks, Tom.
Anyone else from the public? Wow, what will we do with all this time? May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I may have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.